I'll mute myself.
Okay, we're live.
Thank you very much. Good morning, folks, and welcome to the 130th Maine State Legislature. We are in the second session currently. You are viewing the Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs, and we thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Joe Rafferty, and I am the Senate Chair. I represent Senate District 34, which is a good segment of York County. This morning, we do have some a couple of meetings, informational meetings that will take place prior to the public hearing. We have 3 public hearings, but we anticipate the reports being somewhere. They'll start soon, and we'll get through those probably within the hour, is my guess. But in any case, what I'd like to do is invite my fellow legislators to take a moment to introduce themselves, and I will start with the representative chair, Representative Brennan.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Rafferty. Good morning. My name is Michael Brennan. I represent District 36, which is part of Portland.
Thank you. And Senator Woodson.
Good morning, Dave Woodson, District 33 Senate in Northwestern York County.
Thank you. Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jan Dodge. I represent House District 97, which includes Belfast, Northport, and Waldo.
Thank you. Representative McRae.
Yes, good morning, folks. I'm Representative David McRae en route to Augusta in snowy and snowing Aroostook County. I represent District 148. And because I'm on the road, I'm going to be without video, but I will be listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Millette.
Good morning, I'm Rebecca Millette. I represent House District 30, which is most of Cape Elizabeth.
Thank you. Representative Roach.
Morning, everyone. Representative Tim Roach, District 7 Wells. And since I see nobody here from York, we're going to go up today and in our tournament beat York badly. Girls basketball.
Thank you and good luck. Representative Salisbury.
Good morning. I'm Sue Salisbury and I represent House District 35, which is part of Westbrook.
Thank you. Representative Sampson.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Heidi Sampson. And there's some background information going on too. I represent House District 21. That's Alfred, Limerick, Shapley, Newfield, and Parsonsfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Stearns.
Good morning. My name is Paul Stearns.
I just muted him.
Okay.
My name is Paul Stearns. I represent House District 119 of Piscataquis County.
Thank you very much. And I don't, so folks, I expect that we'll have some legislators joining us. There's a lot of other testimony and meetings going on at the same time. And as some enter, I'll give them a chance to say hello. And you may also see occasionally somebody leave as they need to go elsewhere to do some business. That said, I'd like to also introduce our committee clerk as well as our analyst. This morning we have working with us today is Darlene Simino. Thank you very much, Darlene. And also our analyst, Hillary Risler. Good morning, Hillary, and thank you in advance for all your help, both of you. So the 2 meetings we have this morning, well, we're going to get a CDS annual report, and that'll be followed by the UMaine system reporting in on their research activity. First up for CDS, pull up my Good morning.
I think I brought everybody in from the department who I was asked to bring in, but if not, let me know.
It's good. Thank you very much.
And do we have an order? Is it Megan, are you going to start off, or is Erin?
Yes, Senator, I'll go ahead and start off by introducing the team.
Thank you very much for doing so.
Okay. Well, good morning, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and the esteemed members of the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. My name is Megan Welter, and I'm the Director of Policy and Government Affairs for the Department of Education. And I'm very happy this morning to bring before you our team to report out on our CDS annual report. Our job this morning is to make sure that we share some of the highlights from our CDS annual report. But what we're also mindful of this year is to make sure that we're highlighting some important elements. But because we know we're going to be before you again to talk about a lot of information related to CDS, part of our thinking this morning as we planned our report to you was to also highlight some of the important details, but also to sort of get everybody familiar with some of the terms that we're going to be using in subsequent reports. I'd like to introduce the members of our leadership team. Erin Frazier is our Director of Special Services, birth to age 22. Erin's joined the department's leadership team and assumed her position in November of 2019. And I bring that to your attention because you may recall that within about 4 months, Erin was not only doing the work of the new position, but she was also providing technical assistance and real-time feedback and advice to the field about how to manage all of the things related to special services in COVID. She was joined by Dr. Roberta Lucas and Jamie Mishu in the fall of 2020. And I mentioned that really just to point to the fact that these 3 women who have assumed the leadership role have been functioning as a leadership team for just over a year, and they've accomplished a great deal. Joining us today is, we're thrilled to have Ariana Whiting, who is the CDS data manager, and she'll also introduce herself. But at this time, I'm going to share my screen if I'm able and go ahead and project our report. All right, can I get a thumbs up if you're able to see the screen? It should show Child Development Services. Terrific. All right, at this time, I'm going to invite Erin Frazier.
All right, could you project the next slide, Megan?
Certainly.
Great. Good morning, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and esteemed members of the committee. My name is Erin Frazier, and I am the Director of Special Services, birth to 22 at the Department of Education. It is my pleasure to be presenting to you today with some fantastic staff from CDS. Roberta Lucas is on site in one of our sites currently, as we have a vacancy there, so she's actually running one of the sites while she does this job, which is very impressive. And Ariana Whiting is our new data manager. She came on within the past 6 months. Before that, she was an early, and she still continues to be an early intervention program manager. So she has a lot of depth and knowledge of Part C and works closely with Jamie Mishu. So we thought she would be a great person to present with us today. This visual graphic, I'm just reviewing with you again. You've seen it last year if you were here. It graphically displays the oversight of services in special education, starting with the U.S. Department of Education, which contains within it the Office of Special Education Programs, or OSEP. Then we have the main Department of Education, which is referred to nationally as the State Education Agency, or SEA. There are 3 mandated positions under NASEA, including the Director of Special Education, which would be my position, the Director of Early Childhood Special Education, which is Dr. Roberta Lucas's position, and an Early Intervention Director, which is Jamie Mishu. We use the term crib to bed to help people distinguish the 2 related Part C and B under IDEA. Part C services are delivered to children birth to 2, and Part B supports children 3 to 22 in Maine. Section 619 services include special education services 3 to 5. So age 3, the 3rd birthday, is when free appropriate public education begins. And the federal government does segregate out this 3 to 5-year-old, although it is all part of Part B. All right, so I'm going to pass this on to Ariana Whiting to give the update for Part C.
Thank you, Ms. Frazier. Good morning, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and esteemed members of the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. My name is Ariana Whiting, and I, as Erin mentioned, serve CDS as the Data Manager and the Early Intervention Program Manager in the Mid-Coast region. I'm honored to be here today to describe the important work that has been underway this year under the leadership of Jamie Michaud, Dr. Roberta Lucas, and Erin Frazier. To begin, I will describe Part C Early Intervention, and Dr. Lucas will then describe Part B 619 Early Childhood Special Education. Part C Early Intervention services support families of very young children with disabilities and are guided by an individualized family service plan. The IFSP outlines a child's unique strengths and needs in 5 areas of their development. Children and families are paired with a CDS specialist who offers evidence-based strategies that increase the child's functional skills in the areas of communication, cognition, adaptive or self-help skills, motor, and social emotional development. Our specialists support the educational needs of children from diverse economic, cultural, and linguistic backgrounds all across our state. They empower parents to reinforce the skills that their child learns during sessions, allowing the child to generalize new skills across multiple activities, environments, and interactions. By embedding intervention into learning opportunities as they naturally arise, we're ensuring that we're teaching children when they're ready to learn from those that know them best in the environment in which they're most comfortable. Not only serving children in their natural environment is best practice that is supported by research, it's a federal requirement for the provision of early intervention services nationwide. Dr. Roberta Lucas will now describe free and appropriate public education.
Good morning, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and esteemed members of the committee. Just as Erin mentioned this morning, starting at age 3, there is an entitlement to FAPE, and it is made available. Children at age 3 will be evaluated, and based on that evaluation information, children will need to qualify under those 15 identified categories of disability outlined in user and IDEA. IEPs are developed by an IEP team, which must include the family. The IEP team determines the needs of the child, the level of service, and the academic goals that the IEP is required to be instructed on. These goals are aligned with the main early learning and development standards and guide the instructors and providers on evidence-based practices to ensure that the child makes progress on those IEP goals. I'm going to turn it back over to Ariana.
Thank you, Dr. Lucas. I'm standing in today for our Part C coordinator, Jamie Michaud, to summarize the data that we submitted to this committee in the legislative report. Can we advance a few slides? Thank you, Megan. Between federal fiscal year 2018 and 2020, we saw an increase in referrals to CDS from 2,847 in 2018 to 3,116 children referred in 2020. This represents an increase of 61 children between fiscal year 2018 and 2019, and an increase of 208 children between 19 and 20. When Jamie Michaud joined our CDS leadership team in 2020, she took a deep dive into our referral data and identified underrepresented referral sources in geographic areas. State and regional leadership followed a statewide outreach strategy focused on bolstering community partnerships to increase our identification of young children in need of support. Next slide, please. In federal fiscal year 2020, CDS's top 3 referral sources were physicians, the Department of Health and Human Services, and parents. It's so important to us that parents know what we have to offer and that they know that they can make a referral to our program at any time. Recognizing that many parents access Facebook as a source to identify community resources, the Early Intervention Program managers created and maintain a Facebook page geared towards connecting with parents, providers, and community partners. Since its creation, we've not only seen an increase in our referrals, but we can see from our page insights that our top performing posts, and many of those are actually those geared toward drawing parents' attention to developmental milestones, when they might need to make a referral and inviting them to do so. These posts reach up to 2,000 people. We have a memorandum of understanding and a high level of collaboration at both the state and regional site level with the Department of Health and Human Services. We have strong relationships at the site level with caseworkers, and we collaborate very closely to plan child and family supports. At the state level, collaboration between our Part C coordinator and a group of stakeholders from various programs within the Department of Health and Human Services resulted in the expansion of a list of medical diagnoses that make a child automatically eligible for services. This updated list has been disseminated to hospitals and physicians across the state, with referrals from physicians accounting for over 40% of referrals received in federal fiscal year 2020. In the next slide, we'll see a visual representation of the significant increase that we've seen in referrals from hospitals. 100 more children were referred to CDS by hospitals in 2020 than in 2019. Many of the conditions on what we refer to as the established conditions list, those medical diagnoses I just mentioned, are diagnosed at birth. And as a result of the collaboration between CDS and DHHS, CDS was included in a referral system that connects newborns to needed resources immediately upon discharge from the hospital. This program, called Cradle Me, also focused a great deal on outreach this year, and they included us in those efforts. Through this same partnership, CDS was included in a child's plan of safe care, which is described by the United States Department of Health and Human Services as a plan designed to ensure the safety and well-being of an infant with prenatal substance exposure following their release from the care of a healthcare provider. As physicians held their team meetings virtually in response to the pandemic, state and regional leadership joined these meetings to share information about our services with local healthcare providers across the state. Next slide, please. Of the 1,455 children that were evaluated in federal fiscal year 2020, almost 80% of these were found to be eligible. Approximately 62% were determined eligible based on the results of a standardized evaluation. We use the Battelle Developmental Inventory, which looks at all areas of a child's development, and they're eligible based on a significant delay in one area of development or a more moderate delay in two areas. 12% were automatically eligible for services under the established condition of risk criteria based on that list of medical diagnoses. And at the conclusion of each evaluation, the system allows for clinicians to contribute their informed clinical opinion as another pathway to identification, and 17% of children were determined eligible in this way. Next slide, please. Thank you. My intention for our time together today was to walk you all through the early intervention process just as a family would experience it after their child is referred to our program. We've discussed the referral and eligibility process, which brings us to the development of the IFSP, Individualized Family Service Plan, for all eligible children. Once the IFSP has been written, 99% of children's services begin within 30 days of the IFSP development. We're making strong efforts to fill vacant positions in order to meet the increasing need based on increased referrals and increased child count, which we'll discuss in the next slide. And we were able to fill 7 vacant positions in this past year. Next slide, please. CDS saw an increase in the number of children served in all age ranges in federal fiscal year 2020. And so the blue bar on the left represents federal fiscal year 2019, while the gray bar on the right represents the children served in fiscal year 2020. I want to point out that this data is derived from kind of a snapshot in time data point that is a requirement in the reporting to the Office of Special Education Programs. And it's called child count. And essentially it consists of all the children that had active IFSPs on October 1st of each year. Most notably and very exciting for us, we saw a 48% increase in infants birth to 1 who were engaged in services on October 1st, 2021. One of the most exciting aspects of this growth is that we're seeing more infants coming to us earlier, allowing us to begin addressing the needs of our youngest learners sooner. We also place a strong focus on the attachment between child and parent and recognize that whether it's a family's first baby or their 5th, the months adjusting to and getting to know a new baby require a very high level of support. As attachment work is a strong focus of our work, we have several training initiatives planned in the coming months, including having all social workers across the state train in perinatal mental health and 2 offerings from the Braselton Touchpoint Center. As it's often discovered at birth that a child has been exposed to substances in utero, we've taken many efforts to ensure that we reach these babies as soon as possible and that our providers are well equipped to meet their unique needs. Maine providers participated in comprehensive training in this area following a national framework titled Supporting Children of the Opioid Epidemic. And this was in collaboration with New Hampshire's Early Supports and Services and the University of New Hampshire, led by experts from both states. Our Part C coordinator, Jamie Michaud, and Dara Fruchter from the CDC, who oversees initiatives geared towards substance-exposed infants, presented at the National Substance Use Disorder Summit to share how their collaboration has strengthened our state's ability to support these affected infants. And finally, next slide, please. Transition from early intervention may mean that a child continues on to special education services, but it may mean that they no longer require special education supports when they exit early intervention at age 3 or maybe earlier. Just 40% of children that exited early intervention in federal fiscal year 2020 were found to be eligible for Part B 619 services upon their 3rd birthday. And of the children that were referred to Part B, 425 were determined eligible during the reporting period. One of the goals of early intervention is that the investment in a child's very early life gives them the boost that they need so that they don't require special education services later on. And we recognize that high quality standardized information about a child's development is very meaningful when they exit, whether they are continuing on to special education that could help to determine their eligibility, or just to give the parent really valuable information about their child's development when they exit. CDS Midcoast is working towards implementing a pilot program where we will reevaluate every child using the same standardized assessment, so that we can compare their exit scores to their entry scores to really show the parent how much progress their child has made using good, strong data. And that also, as I mentioned, can help determine eligibility for Part B 619 services. And with that, I will pass the baton back to Dr. Lucas, who will share more information about the data contained within the report as it relates to Part B 619. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ariana. Want to move forward with 3 to 5-year-olds, section 619. Next slide, please. As you can see, this map, you can see that the sites with the highest number of children under child count are in York, Reach, Lewiston, First Step, and Opportunities. And our least populated part of the state also has sites like Aroostook, Two Rivers, Down East, and Midcoast. And we also want to recognize that we have some preschool classrooms that we have in Arundel, Biddeford, Brunswick, and Gray in the most populated area of the state. Next slide. We want to recognize that before my coming into administration, there was existing service needs. I want to just let you know that as of 12/20, from 12/1/21 to 1/31/22, our child count was 4,487 children, and children with outstanding needs was 393, which is 8.76% of unmet need. Those children have an active IEP. And the highest needs for those children are in the order below, which is speech and language, specially designed instruction, occupational therapy, transportation, and special purpose private preschool placements. These children are at this point, some are receiving services, but we know that there is an existing and continuing unmet need. Given that there is unmet need, next slide. We have worked really hard to build partnerships with SAUs to help us to meet the needs of the children that have an IEP. We have partnered with 36 SAUs. Last year it was 12, so we're up over 66%. And these SAUs are helping us to organize and provide special education services for children in their catchment area. We also continue to build partnerships and MOUs with organizations and regional programs to also help us support the children that need services. Another an initiative that I have put in place is I've been recruiting retired special education administrators to help with professional development for our staff and technical assistance and support them in the capacity needs of IEP meetings and helping them with the paperwork and just supporting each site as requested. They've been an integral part of helping to build the capacity of the needs for children with that need services. Next slide. I'm going to turn it over to Erin.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Roberta. Oh, am I off mute yet? Okay. In our state, CDS leadership pursued and obtained a share of CRF funding. This is the first set of federal funds that came out for approximately $587,000. We use these funds to support increased costs associated with COVID-19, but we also saw this as a real opportunity to expand preschool programming, especially in light of many preschool programs that were closing their doors due to factors related to COVID-19. And this chart is included in the annual report, and it shows how these funds were distributed and what they were used for. So I'll hand it back to Roberta to finish this up, to lead us through some of the preschool classrooms that were established during this work.
So knowing that there were needs for our children to receive services, we used some CRF funds to reinvigorate some of the existing preschool programs that were in some of our sites, like Arundel. And we explored other opportunities like in Biddeford, Brunswick, and Gray. So on March 21st, CDS added a state level staff to help with preschool program development. We opened 4 programs, 11 classrooms, and once fully staffed, we'll have 342 slots for children to receive services. The expansion was focused on partnering with SAU so that they also can see that we're building an infrastructure to help support them. And we are currently seeking other locations to also support the existing service needs of children with IEPs. The next, you can see in this slide, in the last, and in this last slide, these are just pictures of the classrooms that we currently have set up and have children receiving services in, and building playgrounds and an opportunity for them to receive services. The playground is in Arundel, and these 2 classrooms, one is in Arundel and also in Gray. So the CRF funds help build the support and help build an infrastructure and help build services for children that need placement and need programming. Thank you. I'm going to turn the remainder over to Megan so that she can facilitate any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we are available for questions.
Hey, excuse me. Thank you, folks, very much. Do we have any questions of folks? I know it is their annual report, and we will meet again soon. But yes, Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And perhaps this will be better addressed at our next session as we discuss things at a deeper level. But I'm specifically interested in what factors geographic, number of open slots, staffing issues that were part of addressing the needs of those 393 kiddos who are still awaiting services. Please and thank you. And again, this may better be addressed at our next session. Thank you.
I'm going to offer, I'm going to see if Roberta would like to chime in on that, but also recognize that anything we can't pull together, we will absolutely take note of your request, Representative Dodge, and we'll make sure that we can address anything we can't address fully here today, later when we meet. Dr. Lucas.
Yes, thank you for that question. We are exploring all avenues to provide services for these children. I have recently been able to hire a speech and language pathologist to service the Gray and Reach area of the site in Portland. I've also been able to hire due to some of our vacancies in OT and a couple of teachers. So we are advertising vigorously and across this state and in-state and out-of-state to try to find staff to fill the vacancies that we have to continue to build the opportunity of providing services for children. So we are, I'm just excited to say that we have been able to fill some vacancies, and now we're able to also provide more services for children.
If I may, Mr. Chair, a follow-up?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you all of you for being here today to help us better understand this whole umbrella. Specifically for our work session, I am interested in the specific data on those 393 unserved students and the specific reason why 10 students' needs have not yet been met. Were they SDI classroom, OT, ed tech support? And the next 27 students within that cohort, their needs are not being met due to reason X and reason Y, please. Thank you very much.
Representative Millette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for your presentation. I am so grateful, Ms. Lucas, that you are able to fill in and also be with us. That says a lot. I am concerned about the workforce shortages that we're facing across the board, right? It's not just CDS. And we've known this existed for quite a while, but I would really appreciate when we all come back together for the deeper work, a very clear picture of where the vacancies are, what services, what age group, et cetera, because I think we really need to be very clear about those challenges. So if we could get that, that would be great. I'd love to talk about Part C and the model that the department has committed itself to with the parent coaching. That's been a bit of a point of discussion in the community. And I would like to get some clarity. If a child presents challenges beyond the scope of the parenting coach model, will CDS make sure that that child receives the necessary services?
I want to invite Ariana to jump in here. As you know, in addition to being a data manager, Ariana has been a head of a program. So I know Ariana can speak to it, but obviously Aaron can jump in also. So Ariana.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. CDS regionally and all staff are consistently monitoring the child's progress using a variety of different tools. And so if we find that a child is not making progress, we will modify the child's individualized family service plan. And that could include a variety of methods, usually increasing the frequency and intensity of their services, And our primary goal is to make sure that kids are making progress and that they are really ready for school when school begins. So we are always taking data on that and modifying the individualized family service plan.
Follow up if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Representative.
That kind of didn't answer my question. And so I think, again, maybe for our next meeting, I'd like to understand better what that pathway is for the family and child and how this relates to the Office for Child Behavioral Services. I seem to remember in prior discussions that there does seem to be some kind of linkage and maybe some increased demand on that office for services, and maybe because they provide case management, whereas IFSPPs or whatever the heck that thing is don't. So again, would love for us to dig into that a little bit more. Thanks.
I'm going to invite Ms. Fraser to jump in. I saw you put your hand up and then it was down. So I think that she could probably address some of your question, Representative Millett.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that we do not have a parent coaching model and we don't have a specific methodology. We use a lot of different methodologies. One of the methodologies, which is evidence-based, that's used across the country, is routines-based intervention. We actually are a training site for that model because Maine is very, very effective at it. It is not for every child because every child has an individualized program. So coaching is part of any IFSP because the individual family plans focuses on families. And we feel that the parents are in the best, as you probably all do, the parents are in the best position to be reinforcing skills, training and all the things that we teach in our sessions. They are spending the majority of time with their children, and they're the best to be providing some of these reinforcing activities. So I just wanted to clarify that we do not have a coaching model. We also don't have in Part C a one-size-fits-all model. It is very heavily relying on parent choice and participation, but meeting the family where they need to be. So I hope that clarifies for you.
It does, and I thought for sure that I saw in the presentation the mention of that particular program. Okay, thank you, Jan. So I was just responding to what had been presented to us. So maybe actually if we could get a more full description of how it actually is, how these services are provided, the range of services, because I was just responding to what we had received as information today. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Representative. I've jotted down that we'll make sure that when we next meet that we have a fuller description of the range of services available in Part C.
Representative Dodge.
Thank you. And thank you again for helping us understand. My next question has to do with the centralized billing. I'm also assuming that is going to be fully explained to us in our next deep dive. But I did have a note that I should ask a specific question to make sure that was on our radar, please. Thank you.
Any additional questions relative to the report? Yes, Representative Millett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to, my question now, it moves on to Part B. So there's definitely, I can sense the excitement around the growing community partners. And so I get what I would ask for is an example of the memorandum of understanding between CDS and these partners, so we can get because I do think that that's going to greatly inform our next discussion. And would love to know what benchmarks are utilized to determine that SAU's readiness capacity to partner with CDS to provide these services. I think that would be very informative. unless you can, yeah, and if you can speak to some of that now, that would be great.
I know that I kind of want to circle back briefly to Representative Dodge's question about LD 135 and centralized billing. Just so that you know, when we do present with you coming forward, we will be doing that. We'll co-facilitate with DHHS. So we'll have more information there. Representative Millette, I think that we certainly can follow up with more details, but I will open it up to Aaron or to Roberta if they have anything additional to add regarding a readiness assessment.
So we are developing a readiness assessment. Actually, it should be done shortly, so we could share that with you soon. We have a very detailed preschool competency guide that the early learning team creates, and we are partnering with them to make sure that we have a comprehensive system. But how this works with the SAU is that they develop an interest. We are all interested in getting these children quality services before they go to kindergarten so that they are in the best position to access their education. And so the SAUs feel the same way. So they are working with us to understand and support. So each SAU can contribute something different. Some SAUs have public pre-K, some SAUs have a speech therapist that they may want to send as an itinerant person. Some SAUs can hire more readily than CDS because their wages are more competitive, so they can hire an ed tech, and CDS is having, ed techs are hard everywhere, but public schools have better salary structures sometimes to support ed techs. So that is what we do. We work with the SAU to understand what they can provide. We give them data around who's in their catchment area, what their needs are, and then we make a determination based on those conversations, what services would be provided. Next year, we have an SAU that is providing full services for 3 to 5-year-olds in their catchment area. And they are partnering with private providers because I want to make clear that we need our private providers to be providing services as well as our public schools, because we don't, we're trying to build infrastructure. We need more than we have currently. So that is how we go about those conversations, and many SAUs are wanting and eager to understand who these children are so that they can start developing partnerships and relationships with the family sooner than kindergarten. So I hope that answers your question, Representative Millette.
Thank you, Ms. Fraser. It does. It seems to then imply that to date, there really has not been a standard kind of benchmark assessment process, but that there's been a lot of learning going on that hopefully will inform us going forward. So thank you. I look forward to seeing what you all are working on. Mr. Chair, if I may just have one follow-up around Part B.
Yes, Representative.
Thank you. And I promise this is my last one. So I would love to talk a little bit about, so it was mentioned that 40% of those children who are Part C move on into Part B. That surprises me. There's a part of me that says, yay, we're doing such a great job. But then I believe, if I remember from prior discussions, within New England, I think we're one of the lowest states to identify 3 to 5-year-olds to qualify for Part B. So I would love to hear thoughts on that. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
All right, I think we're going to start with Erin, and then she will hand it off to other members of the team. Erin?
So we have, it's actually really natural for, it's like nationally, this is what occurs because Part C has a very large boundary of what is eligible for special education. Everyone in Part C is under developmental delay. And then when we transition to Part B, we have to go, a child has to be identified and meet the criteria for eligibility for one of the 15 different categories of special education identified for free appropriate public education. So that is why not all children qualify, because they actually don't have a special education disability under that context of the 15 categories. So it speaks somewhat to the intervention. It seems somewhat to the different structures of the two entities as they work together. We do follow those children as they are in Part B. We have new referrals. We have those child find things that are happening with our providers and our public schools chronically. And the information that the child did receive C services is also in their educational records. So that also is a way for people to understand that they had some intervention prior to free appropriate public education. I don't know if you have anything to add, Roberta, but that is pretty typical just because we have to identify what a disability is. And because the list of automatically qualifying disabilities for Part C is about 795 different medical conditions that can require that, it does not necessarily mean that a child has a disability moving into school age services. So,
Roberta? No. Okay.
I think Aaron hit it completely. Thanks.
Representative, do you have a follow-up?
I do. I'm so sorry. I should never have promised. Promises. But what Ms. Fraser said just prompted a question for me around developmental delay, because that was something I remember seeing that really stuck in my head, is that we're last in the country in terms of identifying developmental delay. So I would love to understand why that is, and maybe that perhaps is impacting why we're the lowest in New England in terms of providing services to 3 to 5 year olds.
Erin, I think you have this one, right?
yeah, thanks again for the question. Yes, so we do underreport for developmental delay. In Maine, they have historically tried to really hone in and identify that disability prior to entry for kindergarten. We also, per MUSER, have a kind of a interesting scenario where we have a developmental delay for 3 to 5 year olds, and then we have a developmental delay for just kindergartners. And so that is, I think the state has historically tried to really capture what the disability category is prior to entering school. I will say that I'm planning some adjustments of that in our reworking of MUSER to support really understanding how to use that to a better effect, if that makes sense.
Can I just piggyback on that a little bit, just to say that we are working with our Technical Assistance Center to also gather the data on that and make sure that we make some data-driven decisions on the developmental disability and what other states are doing, so that we can explore maybe expanding the age on developmental disability. So we've been working with our Technical Assistance Center on that specific topic.
Thank you. Any other questions, folks, at this time? Seeing none, folks, just want to thank you for your time with us this morning. We know that we'll be seeing one another real soon. I think it's next week, if I'm not mistaken, but in any case, again, thanks for your work and for your availability today.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe our next report is actually by the University of Maine system. And it relates to their very high research activity and F1 designation.
Yes, I am moving in Sam Warren as well as President Joan Farini Mundy. And they will let me know if there's anybody else in the attendee list I should be bringing in for their presentation.
Good morning, Hillary. I missed you in the transition, but John Donnelly is a student who will be joining us and should also be in the waiting room.
You got it.
Can I confirm folks are able to see my screen with a thumbs up? Perfect. I'll turn it over to President Free Monday to kick us off. Joan, you're on mute.
Thank you very much. You'd think we'd know. Thank you very much, Sam. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and distinguished members of the committee. I'm very appreciative of the chance to give you a very brief summary of what the recent R1 designation for the University of Maine could mean for the state of Maine and for the University of Maine system. And the cross out in the title is intentional because for this to mean what it could mean will require more collaboration, more effort, more work among all of us in very exciting ways that I look forward to engaging with. So Sam will just move through and I'll introduce John at the right moment here. So the R1, the R1 designation is actually something that was previewed and mentioned a little bit in the Measures of Growth report published in December, where there was a flag noted on this trailing problem that Maine has basically across the nation in comparison to other states in our R&D investment as a portion of our GDP. And R&D investment as proportion of GDP is a good indicator of a state's economic health. And so we want to see that go up as our economy grows and becomes more secure and expands in the future, all in alignment with the several plans that have been produced in recent years, the governor's 10-year economic development strategy, the Economic Recovery Committee's work, the Climate Action Plan, and other university-based reports as well. So the idea of trying to expand our R&D capacity in the state is not a new one, but I did find it interesting that Measures of Growth noted specifically that Maine's lack of an R1 research institution was contributing to our inability to get those numbers up. Well, we've now been designated R1, and so we'll look at what that means for the future and think about how we can play our part as the University of Maine and the University of Maine system in this process. We are still using this slide. While we're very excited about this new designation, I'm sure we'll start to move more toward what does the future mean and how do we hold on to this. But for now, we're thrilled to be a part of this tier of 146 universities across the country who've reached this designation. And you see some of the company that we keep here on the slide as well. So it is a huge achievement, but it really goes back many years. This slide just more of the same. We're in the top 4% of institutions relative to this designation now. It is a global recognition, well understood around the world for U.S. universities to have this kind of impact, and it will change our competitiveness for federal funding, for the recruitment of students, for the retention of our faculty, and most importantly, perhaps for this call, for our capacity and ability to partner well with Maine industry and others in Maine to try to help stimulate and catalyze growth in the economy, as well as to provide educational and learning opportunities for students, certainly within our university system. But I also believe there's a way that this connects strongly to pre-K through 12, and I'll speak a bit more about that as we go. So very exciting. We're sort of past the celebration and into the hard work of how do we keep it and what does it mean as we go forward. Just a little bit of background, kind of in the weeds, but I thought you might find it interesting to know how we get this designation. It's not just bestowed. We actually provide data in seven or eight different areas, and those data are validated at the National Science Foundation and then run into this Carnegie model, really, that determines whether, for the first several, compared against essentially our size, whether we cross over the boundary into R1 based on these indices. So just running through them quickly, R&D expenditure. So that's what we spend. That's what our university spends. Much of it, of course, having come in through federal grants or state grants and dollars that come to us that get spent in the state of Maine on research and development, sometimes spent on students who are working in the labs, spent on faculty and staff who come in to conduct these projects, and spent on all of the support staff to make this all happen. We also, of course, track R&D expenditures in two areas, both in the traditional STEM field, science and engineering, and for this designation, they want a well-rounded university, so we track also in the non-STEM fields. And there we would be looking at grants that come into our colleagues across the university. We track the number of R&D staff who hold doctoral degrees. Those would be postdocs, non-faculty, technicians, a variety of people who are needed to run a top tier research operation such as we have here at the University of Maine. Doctoral degrees matter. This is because as education integrates with research, you want to be ensured that a next generation of leaders in these fields are being well prepared with the very best facilities, the very best faculty, colleagues, and the very best opportunities to engage in important research for the state and the country. So number of degrees awarded at the doctoral level in STEM, in the social sciences, and in the humanities, and in other fields. So I wish to stress that this is a measure of also how well-rounded we really are as a university going forward. And then, as I mentioned, the number of faculty. Right, go ahead, Sam, thank you. This roadmap really started with you all. The legislature in 1997, 1998, established the Maine Economic Improvement Fund. We are very grateful for that wise move so many years ago and for the leadership that it took to get that to go forward. Combination of faculty, the faculty five who are famous for this, but also a number of key legislators who could see the importance of ensuring that the state public university system had some access to funds that would help us grow the R&D capacity in our state. That funding was last increased in fiscal year 16, and the appropriation has a strong ROI in terms of grants brought in as a return on how that is spent. It is shared across the entire system. UMaine and USM have the larger proportions. There is a small campus initiative that calls for proposals every year from the small campuses as well as from Maine Maritime Academy. And we are able to address issues of great importance to the state in the 7 identified technology sectors. Over the years, the attention to the importance of R&D has continued in various ways. The Board of Trustees has made it known that they support and encourage this notion, this part of being a university and being a university system. When I came, Vice Chancellor Page charged me with writing an R&D systemic plan for the system, which we did in 2019. And we also set out the clear goal of trying to get to R1, in part because doing all those kinds of things that you saw on the previous slide, all those bulleted areas of indicators for R1, we knew that doing that would be healthy for the university and for the state, and therefore that R1 would be something to which we should strive. We've had very strong R&D expenditures in the last year. We have a new position that I currently occupy as Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation to make certain that our R&D scale and scope expands across the entire system as it's suitable. So here we are in 2022, and we can go to the next slide, Sam. We understand that having this designation, this national attention, I was just in a meeting with national folks this morning and congratulated again, it brings us into the foreground, not just as the University of Maine, but as a state and as our state public higher education system. So overall, some implications really for the system. We believe it will certainly help us attract students to UMaine, but also with our unified accreditation now, because students will be more easily able to move around across the universities. Students who come to other institutions in the system will have the chance to be a part of the enterprise here at the University of Maine more readily, and we will be able to make those boundaries more straightforward so that students can get a chance to be a part of this top tier research activity. Similarly, we believe it will help us with faculty, not only here at UMaine, but again, across the system where we have first-class faculty in every one of our institutions who are doing research, not necessarily large numbers and not necessarily with the full infrastructure for research, but we are increasingly making it easy to partner with UMaine, to spend time here on campus if needed, for doctoral students from UMaine to go out to the other institutions and spend time working with faculty there, so that again, we think of our research faculty as a system-wide faculty over time, and we're very excited about that. Similarly, with bringing in external funding, which is very important to the enterprise being able to compete nationally as we do so well here at UMaine and at USM, and increasingly at the other institutions, looking to see those numbers go up. There are many, many federal opportunities that cross my desk that we simply aren't able to apply to because people are stretched, but we're still looking for ways to make it possible to support those applications. University of Maine has a number of university level research centers and institutes that are heavily funded, almost always externally funded entirely. Some MEIF funding supports them as well, but by and large, we think that those can grow to support the state in areas that are of particular interest here, and then to have the administrative support. So it's a piece of good news for the entire system and for the entire state. We'll go to the next slide, Sam. It really does have the potential to benefit all Maine students. As some of you may know, with the historic $240 million Harold Alfond Foundation gift to the system, a big piece of that work is to provide a research learning experience to every first-year student over time across the entire system. And we've started. That's happening at UMaine. It's been piloted here and in partnership with UMaine Machias. UMaine Farmington is coming in, and others in the system into the next year. So hoping to engage our undergraduates more fully in research. And as increasingly we partner with the P12 system, PK-12 system across the state, where students are increasingly getting more hands-on and real world learning experiences, experiential learning that puts them into situations where they're learning the skills of research, then we can be a whole system which goes pre-K through gray, really, of enabling people to be prepared to lead the innovations of tomorrow through all that we're able to offer. And increasingly, as our labs are available more broadly, students across the world, across the state, I mean, can use them. I'm going to pause here and introduce John Donnelly. Some of you may know his dad, Jim Donnelly, who is a member of our board of trustees. John is an outstanding computer science student here at UMaine, and I'll let him tell you more.
Thank you, President Mundy. Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, distinguished members of the community, thank you for the opportunity to speak. As President Mundy said, my name is John. I'm a fourth-year computer science student at UMaine, and I've been fortunate enough to engage in research throughout my undergrad experience. At first, sort of informally in software development stuff, and more recently in the past 2 years, into some math research more formally, and most recently into AI. And through all of that, I would say I've really gotten a leg up in my classes and as I start to look towards next steps after college. I've picked up a lot of hard skills, like more programming languages, frameworks, linear algebra, stats, AI. But I think almost more importantly, I've become more comfortable with some of those soft skills. Because I've been forced to go out of my comfort zone, take on problems that I have no idea how to address. I've been forced to learn creative problem solving, to collaborate with the impressive faculty of UMaine, as well as my peers who have more expertise in areas that I'm looking at. And that has all been able to feed into my classes, which is great. In particular, I think of my capstone project, because just recently I was speaking to a client for that, and they suggested that they were interested in a machine learning model for medical diagnosis. And because I was able to get this research experience with UMaine faculty and with people who are better at this stuff than I am, I had the comfort to work through that problem with our client, and ultimately come up with a solution that they were happy with, that we were happy with, and to the point where they offered my capstone group positions over the summer if we were interested. To the point of all Maine students, I'd also like to mention I'm actually going to be presenting some of the AI research I'm working on at the Maine Science Festival next month, which is a nice tie-in. But I guess all of this is to say that that research experience has been invaluable for me. I think it's set me up for my next step. I'm going to be attending Duke University for a PhD program starting next year. but ultimately, I was born and raised in Brewer, Maine. Maine is my home, and as we've seen, there's more and more opportunities for technology and engineering growing in the state, and I hope to return once I have completed that program and bring that back to the state. I think more students like me are going to be doing the same. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And, sorry about the fact that he's going away to Duke, but you heard him. He may come back and he'll have a tremendous background, and we'll hope to sustain this R1 so that we have a healthy and vibrant situation in the state. Just an outstanding student here at UMaine. Next slide, please. We've had, of course, very wonderful, and we're delighted with the recommendation, recognition from the governor, from our congressional delegation, all of whom understand the potential of this for the state of Maine. And we are appreciative of their terrific support and also their help going forward as we try to broaden the way in which people across the state are able to benefit from this new designation. Next slide, please, Sam. And the way that we're working to think about this is to continue to show that the University of Maine is a statewide asset. As the land grant university, we have a part of our mission, which really is about making an impact across the state. Sometimes that's quite well known through our cooperative extension work, which is a part of the University of Maine and which is in every county in the state of Maine. I picked really 3 examples that I thought might be of interest to you, and some of you have heard about some of these previously. This first, though, brand new award from the National Science Foundation to our RISE Center, the Research in STEM Education Center, that is going to engage, I believe it's middle school students in coastal research projects. So what you have is this really strong culture here at the University of Maine of reaching to our PK through 12 partners and using the resources and assets of our university to connect to those areas where hopefully we will be able to interest those students in pursuing higher education and then perhaps engagement in areas that are of special importance to the state of Maine, such as coastal and marine science related topics. The second grant that I wanted to feature here just came in, UMaine Well Nurse. It is focused on some of the most important challenges we see in the nursing profession today of burnout and the need for continued resiliency in very difficult times. And our very strong School of Nursing here at UMaine has a brand new grant from the from HRSA, it's a part of the NIH. And so we're very excited again to bring knowledge about how to make a difference through research to our state. And then finally, some new capacity coming through the UMaine Process Development Center, which, by the way, is one of our R&D centers that is most actively engaged with Maine companies. As companies see a need or have a question or would like something tested, they often will bring it to that center and work together in collaboration to move their product to a next level or expand production or become more efficient. And so here you see a bit of a notion about some new equipment that's going to help with renewable packaging research. We do that here at UMaine in partnership with companies across the state. So we continue to hope that we're recognized and called upon to be of help. And one last example that is especially important for me, this is a program, national program, Expanding Your Horizons, that I worked on a very long time ago in some of my earliest work at the University of New Hampshire. But we host here at the University of Maine annually a STEM conference for girls in middle school. I always show up with a math problem, which they're not always really thrilled to work on. But the point is to introduce these children at a pretty young age to what's possible for them. And we can increasingly do that now with opportunities that they might be able to take within the state of Maine based on our R1 connection. So with that, I really appreciate your time and the opportunity to tell you about this. And would be happy to answer any questions, as I'm sure would John. I don't know if John left or not. Yeah, he's still there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Crockett.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And President Freeney Monday, just a huge thank you and congratulations to this distinction. As we all know, which I probably say too often, as a proud alum of the University of Maine, this is just another carrot that we can shout about and be very proud of our institution and the talent that is coming out of it.
Now my question, because I'm supposed to have a question. Is this designation renewed annually, or is it a more periodic review? And then what investment levels are needed to maintain this R1 status?
So thanks for the question, Representative Crockett, and we're so glad you're an alum. Always like it when you tell us that. The designation is typically reviewed every 3 years, but this year, and the Carnegie Foundation overall oversees this. Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching oversees it, and it has been done at Indiana University for the last several rounds. But that operation is moving now to another institution. It's moving to the American Council on Education in Washington, and they've indicated that they plan to do the review in 2 years rather than 3. So it will come up fairly quickly. They've also indicated that they're less interested in this sort of race to the top kind of competitive analysis, and are going to add other sorts of designations, one of which is likely to be a social mobility designation, which I also think that our universities need to strive toward that. So we'll see what happens, but we're very happy that we have it now. And thank you for your question as well. The levels of resources needed, we're working to understand that right now. As you know, we've been able to keep tuition affordable in the state of Maine, and concurrently with that, our salaries are relatively modest compared to what we see across the nation with our peers, and our peers are beyond New England now. And even when we look at the University of New Hampshire, University of Massachusetts, UConn, all of whom are R1, we do see that faculty and staff salaries are low. We also see that research infrastructure, all that it takes to get these grants out the door, and then to be sure that we are compliant when they come in and that we follow all the rules and so forth, we could stand to see an increase in that too. I'm not prepared at this point to offer specific numbers, but we're going to scramble to keep these numbers up. And of course, the MEIF dollars, which are incredibly valuable and important for us, we would be very hopeful that in the coming years we would request and see an increase there, because that's the base. That's what keeps us very tightly linked to the needs in the state of Maine. So appreciate the question, and it wouldn't just be automatic that we would get renewed. We need to keep those faculty here and get grants coming in.
Thank you very much, President.
Thank you. Representative Brennan. You're muted, sir.
Thank you, Senator Rafferty, and thank you, President Farini Mundy, for being here today and for the presentation. I appreciate it. My comment question runs kind of parallel to Representative Crockett. Or first, just congratulations on the status. And could you clarify for me, is the Maine Economic Improvement Fund the only state fund that is directed to the university for research? Because on the other hand, Maine has always ranked in the bottom 10 of states in the country in research and development overall. So is this the only fund that supports the university? Or are there other state research initiatives that also are accessible to the university?
This is certainly the primary resource. I will turn to Sam. Naturally, of course, our appropriation supports what we are able to do relative to instruction and research collectively. Sam, am I correct? There is also something for the Down East Institute. Am I correct, Sam? That's an R&D support, or is that part of our appropriation? I should know this. I'm sorry, Representative.
Yeah, that is. Thank you, Representative Brennan. That is separate. The Down East Institute has gotten funding through a state bond several years ago, and the Down East Institute is a separate entity, but is connected to the University of Maine at Machias. I would say that MEIF is the primary source of R&D investment from the state. Also, the state appropriates funds through the Maine Technology Institute that often goes to businesses who in turn rely on our R&D infrastructure. And so there may be private grants and contracts that we enter into with those businesses that, stem from state dollars, but they come to us through those private companies and organizations.
Okay.
I think perhaps I should add that the one-time Maine Jobs and Recovery Plan funds, the 35 million that have been designated for the University of Maine system and where we are working through acquiring those dollars, those will be a combination of workforce development. I mean, that's the front and center focus for much of that work, but workforce development that happens in a context of modern R&D. So some renovation of facilities and new facilities to be sure that the students who are working in our system sites have the chance to be engaging in with instruments and machines and in facilities where they can be at the cutting edge. So that is something that we're also very much looking forward to and grateful to the legislature for their support of it and the governor.
So, Senator Frey, just a quick clarification. So there's not a relationship between the R1 designation and the overall investment of the state in research and development. But obviously, if we want to keep this designation, possibly putting more money in the Economic Improvement Fund would allow us to keep that designation.
I think it could certainly be important for us because it's what allows us to have the infrastructure and the faculty base to seek those external grants and count that toward research expenditure. So it's very, very crucial to us. We use every penny of that.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Woodson has a question.
Thank you. And thank you folks for being here this morning. Exciting news and developments. You mentioned the importance of attracting and keeping faculty, professors in this new area. Does your negotiation policies allow flexibility in that? Or how is that set up in different programs and departments as far as salaries?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. We have some flexibility. A number of these faculty are research faculty, which means that they have can have a different categorization or maybe even categorized as staff. And so then we work within the constraints of whatever the collective bargaining agreements are. But when we have special cases, when we need to retain someone, when another university offers to practically double their salary, we do have options for making requests and working with the unions to retain them. We do that sparingly, but it is a possibility. And so we also, of course, have faculty who are bringing in sizable amounts of money in external grants, and in some cases, we therefore are able to use some of the external funding to supplement salary. But it's a challenge, and we appreciate the question.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, folks, at this time? Yes, Representative Brennan.
I'm sorry, one quick follow-up, but given the importance of this designation, and I'm glad you're here today to talk about it, are you taking any extra steps to promote this designation both within Maine and across the country?
Well, yes, we're trying to do that with the appropriate kind of cultural humility that we know is the case here. We want to be we want to be situated within how Maine is, but at the same time, yes, we are. We're actually having a little celebration tomorrow with buttons and T-shirts. That's not nationally, but that's an attempt at helping our campus understand this is important, and then a number of different public relations and articles and talks and so forth that we'll be doing on the national scene. We do want people to know Maine is in this game in a big way. And that's important for all of us.
Thank you very much. And this might be a time where you don't have to be humble, you know.
I agree. I agree. The team here is remarkable, and they've been at it for a long time.
Excellent. Senator Woodson, did you have another question, sir?
No, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting to lower my hand. Go.
Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And congratulations, President and all the team for the great work. I do have a question for Mr. Donnelly. I'd like to thank him for joining us today. All your work in artificial intelligence, do you have any qualms about the theory of singularity and what that might mean for the world?
Well, thank you for the question, Representative. So actually the aspect of AI that I'm interested in, that I've sort of been working with, is making it more accessible for people. So I might not be the most pro singularity, but my goal is to build models that allow people to integrate their expertise more rather than eat humanity. So thank you.
Very, very good, sir. Thank you. Continue the good work.
I'm not seeing any more hands up in terms of questions. So again, we'd like to congratulate you folks. Thank you very much for your time today, and most importantly, for all the work that you continue to do. And John would like to wish you well at Duke and your continued education and successes moving forward. So thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you all. We appreciate the time.
Folks, I think what we'll do then is we're going to go right into our work sessions this morning. I see that Senator Daughtry is with us, and she is one of our presenters relative to her bill. And we'll get started on that because I know that she has some time constraints, and she's worked through some computer issues as well. One of those fun mornings. In any case, so I'll call the, a public hearing. I said work, public hearing on LD 1807. That officially opens, and that is an act to expand the nursing education programs. And as I stated, the sponsor is here with us, Senator Daughtry.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for everyone's flexibility on the committee. I have that instance that I think we all go through at least a couple of times in the legislature where you need to be in 3 places at the same time with several different bills. So hopefully I don't get called into IDEA while I'm presenting this one. But with that, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and fellow distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs, I am still Senator Maddie Daughtry, and I represent State District 24, which includes the towns of Brunswick, Freeport, Harpswell, North Yarmouth, and Pownell. And I'm here this morning to present LD 1807, an act to expand nursing education programs. Years of nursing staffing shortages have put our hospitals in an excruciatingly tough spot, which has only become more severe during the pandemic. Nurses make up the largest portion of the healthcare workforce, with jobs opening every day and not nearly enough trained professionals to fill them. Millions of nurses are of retiring age. Stress and burnout has only been worsened during the COVID-19 pandemic, and a lack of nursing faculty makes it harder and harder to train up new nurses. All of these factors have combined to lead to a chronic workforce shortage in Maine and all across the country. We're looking at a possibility of a workforce shortage of around 3,200 nurses by 2025. And one of the ways we can combat this problem is by enrolling more students in nursing programs and giving the community colleges more resources to dedicate towards nursing programs. If you do have a chance to look at my written testimony, I've included a lot of links to different articles. I know many folks on this committee, as well as, I think just being a legislator, honestly, just a Mainer right now, we're all aware of how bad the nursing shortage is, but please check out some of the links for a little bit more information. My bill would allocate ongoing funds to the Maine Community College system to expand their nursing education program to hire more faculty, as well as enroll more students. Maine has a history of investing in initiatives to grow and expand our healthcare workforce, and it is just another means to do that. Federal initiatives like the Nurse Reinvestment Act need to be supported by pillars of strong education systems. Without nursing programs that are consistently enrolling students, we will not meet our workforce demands. Ensuring that nurses live and work in Maine starts with helping them to be able to get their degrees right here. And this starts with investing in public nursing programs and supporting our faculty. I also believe that this bill will coincide very nicely with Governor Mills' proposal to offer free community college to high school graduates between 2020 and 2023. With more students seeing community college as an option, more students will be drawn to those nursing programs at our schools. And encouraging these students to follow this noble path is something that we can all support. Enrolling in a nursing program at a community college is significantly more affordable and flexible for individuals who may be trying to either, change industries, supporting themselves and a family, or coming in with various credits from different institutions. I have a constituent who recently reached out because they're hoping to become a nurse, but due to their previous credits, they're not eligible for the nursing program at their current school. However, they are eligible at one of our community college nursing programs, and this will help accelerate her ability to join the workforce, start earning a paycheck, and keep her on track to become a frontline worker instead of retaking unnecessary duplicative courses elsewhere. And I would be remiss to not acknowledge all the remarkable work Maine's nurses have done during the COVID-19 pandemic. In my own family, I have some of these incredible superheroes in my life, and I am grateful for them every single day. Whether they're working in our emergency rooms, our ERs, doctor's office, and hospitals, they have exemplified what it means to be a hero every single day. Showing up to work, putting on a brave face, and providing top-notch care remains incredibly awe-inspiring. And it's hard to say this, 24 months of this pandemic have created a work environment that can only be described as unsustainable. Growing the healthcare workforce will allow for more nurses to be able to take time off and emotionally and mentally recover between shifts that are filled with unprecedented levels of stress. Our hospitals know that they need more staff, and between the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, the growth of the healthcare industry, and the average age of nurses, we need to invest in pathways for individuals to feel entering the workforce is possible. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Daughtry. I do have some questions. First is from Representative Sampson, followed by Senator Woodson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Daughtry. So I have a question that may not be too surprising for you, but this is dealing with, the nursing shortage right now. And the elephant that is in the room is all of the nurses that lost their job because they did not want to receive the shot. Where we now know that the vaccine does not prevent the spread, does not prevent getting it, and does not prevent transmitting it, could we consider lifting the ban on the mandate with all the nurses that have lost their jobs?
Thank you for that question, Representative Sampson. And first off, I'm going to say with your question, we all know, the jurisdiction of our various joint standing committees. And I do think that point that you raise is not within the purview, not only of this joint standing committee, but also within the parameters of this bill. I think that's something, especially when you consider, the joint rules of a second session, that's something that would have to come before. And I know there are other vehicles and bills and other committees to be able to deal with that, like under the Committee of the Department of Health and Human Services. I do have to say very quickly, and then transition back, I know this is a matter of disagreement amongst many different members, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that vaccines do work, and no vaccine is 100% effective, especially when we consider what we just heard from the incredible students doing research at University of Maine. The technology that we've been able to see developed by Americans and be able to go out and save lives is truly remarkable, but no vaccine is going to be able to be 100% effective, but what it is effective at is preventing death and serious illness. And having had family members who have dealt with crippling cases of COVID, and also regularly getting calls from my best friend who's working in an ICU unit in upstate New York, absolutely devastated by having to just pull out her respirator, of losing 3 different patients to this horrible disease. I have to say we need to make sure that we do everything to support the healthcare industry. They've gone through hell and back. And no matter where any of us feel about vaccines, this bill is about making sure that we support these people who are literally at their wits' end. The one thing I do want to share when I think about why it's so important to do everything we can to make sure that we're getting more nurses is I think about the term one of my friends told me called moral injury. That they're at this point where they don't even have burnout anymore, that they've had to see so many patients that they couldn't save and work such long and devastating hours that they're suffering from moral injury. So we really need to find a way to get more people in there. We're the oldest state in the nation, and no matter whether we're dealing with COVID or we're doing a pandemic, or we're dealing with maybe something a little bit more exciting, like someone who's working as a nurse midwife, like one of my family members is training to do right now, and bringing exciting new life, even in that field, they just need more people. We simply don't have enough folks, whether we're talking about beginning of life care or end of life care. So hopefully that helps answer it a little bit more, but I want to be clear that this bill isn't about vaccines.
Can I just respond, Mr. Chair?
Do you have an additional question?
I just want to make a comment to follow up with what she just said, just to affirm what she has just said.
I'll give you a little bit of leeway, but honestly, I don't want to debate this issue.
I'm not debating. No, sir, I'm not debating this.
All right, thank you.
I just wanted to say to Senator Daughtry, I don't disagree with you. There is a need. I'm just saying that this was an issue that your point is well taken. However, this is the elephant in the room that we need to also consider. So maybe a different committee. Yes, but yes, I agree that there is a need for nursing. I'm not disputing that. And I just want to make that very clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I do think that as legislators, we may get an opportunity to address your first question and concern, but not specifically this committee. I think it's just going, maybe in our role as a legislator. Senator Woodson, please, with a question.
Thank you, Joe. And thank you very much, Senator Daughtry, for bringing this important bill forward. And this question may not be for you, but maybe somebody in the queue from community colleges. How quickly could we gear up, get this proposal in the works and working?
Sorry, Senator Woodson, I just tried to reboot my internet because I got the unstable connection again. But if I could just clarify for your question of how soon, if we were able to get this through, could we get this to work on the ground?
Yeah.
I'm going to defer that to the representatives from the community college. But if we're able to get this funding through, I think it could make a significant difference, this year. It obviously depends on when we adjourn and when the bill takes effect. But I think we could see immediate results from this program pretty quickly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can everyone still hear me?
Yes, we're good with your audio.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions, folks, of Senator Daughtry at this time? Seeing none, again, I do have a question. Representative Millett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Senator Daughtry. As you are aware, we've received some emails from community college faculty, adjunct faculty, I think in particular, about issues they're facing with pay. I think for the work session, Senator, it would be helpful if we could find out how much of the nursing faculty are adjunct, what their pay is, and if they've had any sort of significant staffing issues for their faculty in that program. And I think maybe for the folks following you up, I'll ask an additional question, but for the work session, I think that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Millett. Obviously, I don't have that information off the top of my hand, but you and I have worked and talked about this quite a lot, and we've had different bills dealing with trying to raise the pay of adjunct faculty and anything we can do to support not only getting more faculty into this, including I have a family member who works UNE in nursing faculty, and she often talks about how we need to do more to be able to attract quality instruction throughout our education system, no matter whether we're talking community colleges, and public and privates. But yeah, that's something we can look at. I don't know if it's necessarily connected on this bill, but it's definitely something we need to make sure that people are getting paid, what they should be making for these positions.
Thank you both. Any additional questions, folks, for Senator Doctor at this time? I know there are a number of folks here to testify, and it appears they're all in favor of the bill. I don't see any opposed, nor do I see any neither for nor against. So I believe we have Representative Zager here.
He's not here.
Not, okay. So I'm going to go in this order then, I think, if I could. Chelsea Adams, then President Dagler, and Julianne LaRue.
Chelsea's there.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry, I couldn't get it to unmute. Hello, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and members of the Education Committee. My name is Chelsea Adams. I am currently in my last semester as a nursing student at Northern Maine Community College in Presque Isle. I'm a single mom to an 11-year-old. I work part-time as a dialysis technician, and I go to college full-time. Going back to school has been one of the biggest challenges of my life, but attending Northern Maine Community College has made it easier for me. Not only is it an affordable school, but the location is great. It is only a few minutes from my work, and it is only 20 minutes from my home, making it convenient to attend since I have to live off campus. I have been a dialysis technician for almost 10 years, and I absolutely love my job, but my scope of practice only allows me to do so much. Becoming a nurse will combine my passion for healthcare as well as my love for helping others who need it most. Nursing is a profession that never stops giving. I will always have the opportunity to learn new things every day, and the chance for growth is almost unlimited. I was afraid when I applied to NMCC that I would have to be put on the waiting list I have heard so much about. A few of my friends have had to wait until the next cohort started before getting into the program because of the high demand. On the other hand, there is an extremely high demand for nurses at this time, especially with the pandemic. While doing our clinical rotations in the hospital, we have seen how shorthanded some of the floors have become and how eager the nurses are for our class to graduate and join the workforce. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me today, and I hope you support LD 1807.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Next up, I believe, is President Dagler. Good morning.
Good morning, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs. Thank you. I'm David Dagler. I'm president of the Maine Community College System, and I'm here to testify in full support of LD 1807, an act to expand nursing education programs. You know, a report issued by the Maine Nursing Action Coalition projected that the state could have a shortage of 3,200 registered nurses by 2025. Here's the thing. That report was published in 2017. Obviously, the coalition's projections did not include the impact of a 2-year pandemic. Now, in May of 2021, the American Nurses Association issued a report named The Impact of COVID-19 on the Nursing Workforce. That report said, and here I quote, "The COVID-19 pandemic has had a significant and negative impact on the nursing workforce." The report went on to say immediate, long-term actions must be taken to mitigate the adverse effects of this pandemic. The nursing shortage we face was not a result of the pandemic. COVID-19 has exacerbated it, though. It will not go away when the pandemic subsides. As we discuss this legislation, hospitals are filling their nursing vacancies with costly visiting nurses. When staffing needs can't be met, hospitals are forced to redirect elective care patients to out-of-state hospitals and delay non-emergency care. The pandemic has pushed our critical nursing workforce to its brink. Our nurses have been at the front line of this pandemic. They are exhausted, in desperate need of replenishment. So with Maine experiencing unprecedented shortages in healthcare professionals, Maine's community colleges stand ready to help. MCCS has already moved forward with short-term training programs for CNAs, LPNs, medical assistants, phlebotomists, and other health professionals that can be appropriately trained through our short-term programs that have been funded through the Maine Jobs and Recovery Plan. But registered nurses require licenses to practice. And as a requirement of licensure, nurses must have a degree from an accredited institution and pass a licensure exam. MCCS colleges are accredited by the New England Commission on Higher Education, and our 5 current nursing programs are accredited by the Accreditation Commission on Nursing for Nursing Education, also called ASIN. ASIN standards require sustainable funding to maintain that accreditation. Now, our 5 current nursing programs all rank in the top 8 programs in the state. The pass rate for all 5 programs averages 93.6%, and each of MCCS's nursing programs have higher pass rates than the state average. State average is 89.1, just so you know. MCCS's 2-year associate degree option requires the least time for a nurse candidate to enter the workforce and begin caring for patients. And with the lowest tuition in New England, MCCS also offers the most cost-efficient path to becoming a registered nurse. Over the past 4 years, we have graduated an average of 209 nurse candidates each year. Currently, our nursing programs are full, and without additional sustained funding, we cannot increase capacity. But MCCS has developed detailed plans to double our nursing capacity, adding 210 nurse candidates per year to bring the total number, nurse candidate graduates per year, to bring the total to 420 new graduates. That said, educating new nurses is expensive, and the cost is driven by the nursing board's requirement that 1 nurse educator can only oversee 8 nursing students in clinical rotation. Our expansion plan has been built in partnership with the leading healthcare systems in the state. The colleges will hire a total of 33 full-time and 20 part-time nursing faculty. We'll add 7 support staff, including clinical coordinators and lab technicians. The colleges will also expand the simulation labs and purchase additional equipment, including simulation mannequins, computers and monitors, hospital beds, and other consumable supplies. Our hospital partners will provide additional funding and in-kind cost support equal to an additional $2.5 million per year. That funding is applied exclusively to the costs of expanding our nursing programs. The hospitals will also expand clinical placements for MCCS students and provide preceptors as needed. With these commitments, MCCS is prepared to have our first class of new nurse candidates begin their instruction this coming summer. Yes, Senator Woodson, I am talking about the summer of 2022. Shovel-ready seems a poor term for expanding this critical group of desperately needed medical professionals, but understand these programs are fully built and ready to start as soon as the financial commitments are in place. Now, there is no single answer to fully addressing the shortages of nurses we face, but one key solution is expanding our capacity to build the skills people need to deliver that care. If we find the courage to do that, we have a starting point. Now, I just want to mention that we fully respect the serious workload that you all are under. And we have asked our supporters or supporters of this legislation, actually, and hopefully some students, to provide written testimony to the committee as part of the biennial, the supplemental budget process. Some are choosing to participate in person because, like us, they believe it's critical that LD 1807 be supported and fully funded. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions, folks, at this time? Yes, Representative Salisbury.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Degler, for the information. And, we've spoken recently about some other programming for other workforce shortages in healthcare. And I appreciate what's happening with this bill and other work that's being done at the community college program. I'm wondering if for our work session, we could have an idea of, there's been a lot of funding added to the community college system, for generalized terms. And now we have this bill that's coming forward. And then back in October, the governor released funding that had a number of different things, including recruitment and retention, but there was also some tuition. I think there was, as part of the main jobs and recovery, there was some support programs. So I just wanted to get a feeling of all the different sort of pools of money that were coming together that could supplement or go together with a bill like this. Thank you.
We can provide, I can answer some of that now, but we'll just deflect the entire conversation about the funding, the nature of that funding, short-term versus long-term, where we can use it and how it builds in, together with programs that are supporting tuition remission elsewhere in the main jobs recovery plan.
Okay, that would be helpful. Yeah,
Thank you.
We can talk about that at the work session. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions, folks? President Degler, thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate you being here and your continued work on the behalf of all Mainers and our students. Have a great day.
Senator Rafferty, thank you very much. Thank you to all the committee members as well.
Next up, folks, is Juliana LaRue, and Juliana will be followed by Kathleen McManus.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Juliana.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, members of the Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs. I am Juliana LaRue. I am a registered nurse and the president-elect of the Maine American Nurses Association. And I do want to also thank Senator Dougherty for her strong support for nursing. Thank you. And I appreciate what President Daigle said about this extraordinary need to support nursing education in Maine. ANA Maine is a 501c3 membership association with 625 members and representing all of Maine's licensed nurses. ANA Maine is the state affiliate of the American Nurses Association. Among the ANA members are students and faculty from all of Maine's schools of nursing, and several of whom serve on the association's board of directors. We are proud of the quality education our state nursing programs have provided to educate and support the needed workforce to care for our state's population wherever they live, regardless of socioeconomics and demographics. We have participated in several of Maine's nursing workforce seminars when the data has demonstrated how badly new nurses are needed to help sustain the health care required in every state of Maine. And in the most recent seminar I was privileged to attend, the emphasis has been on younger nurses who will stay in the workforce in Maine longer. Student nurses are receiving excellent education from our state's community college system. Moreover, the education and training received in the nursing programs prepares the students for furthering their education in the university or undergraduate college degrees after they receive their registered nurse license, if they choose to do so. We support this important nursing education legislation because the community colleges in Maine have already proven their excellence in graduating students who are well prepared to enter the state's nursing workforce. We are confident this appropriation will provide the community college system with the resources needed to recruit, train, and provide the state with more badly needed nurses, and we urge ought to pass. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. LaRue. Are there any questions, folks, at this time? Seeing none, thank you for being with us this morning, for the work that you do as well, and you have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Next up is Kathleen McManus, and Kathleen will be followed by Lisa Gaddy Arnold.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about the nursing funding bill, LD 1807. I have been a nurse for 44 years, the last 20 years of which I have spent in nursing education. I am a nursing faculty member at Central Maine Community College and became chair of the nursing program at CMCC in 2012. When I took over as chair in 2012, we admitted 32 nursing students in Auburn. We then increased to 40 nursing students, and today we accept 56 nursing students at our Auburn location. We also have a Damascotta cohort that routinely admits 8 students, though we recently were able to admit 11 students thanks to support from Lincoln Healthcare, a Maine health facility. Our program is primarily a Monday through Friday program with classes and clinical during the Monday through Friday work week. The program has grown in enrollment and is currently maxed out due to class size, limited lab space, and necessary clinical space. Indeed, our nursing lab is utilized 5 days a week, and we conduct clinicals on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and even some Saturdays. Our existing nursing faculty are unable to absorb additional nursing students. With an inability to increase our enrollment in our current weekday program, my attention has shifted to days and times when classroom, lab, and clinical space may be underutilized, that of nights and weekends. The funding from this bill would allow us to establish a nursing program for additional nursing students in a nights, weekends program. Utilization of lab and classroom space on nights and weekends maximizes the use of these resources without having to duplicate space and equipment needs. Rather, the funding from this bill would allow us to hire additional nursing faculty to teach in the nights and weekend program. This year, I have been inundated with requests from employers seeking to hire our nursing graduates. Each year, we experience nearly 100% job placement for our nursing graduates. Our graduates are able to obtain great paying nursing jobs with benefits. And in my experience, most graduates, if not all, stay locally in the same facilities where they did their clinical experience. Increasing enrollment in nursing programs is an investment that will not only benefit the healthcare industry, but as importantly, benefit the citizens of Maine. This bill provides the funding the community colleges need to increase the number of nursing students who will then become graduates with high-paying, challenging, and rewarding jobs in healthcare. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McManus. We do have a question from Representative Dodge.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing information with us. My question is around the number of nursing instructors that are available in the state of Maine and the amount of training or certifications that would need to be added for nurses who are currently in the field to become certified instructors, please. Is this information that we should have at the work session so that we expand and deepen the help that we can perhaps provide you? Thank you.
I can't speak to the number of nursing faculty within the state. I don't know that number. I can speak from my own personal experience. We need master's prepared nurses to be teaching in the program. And I have 10 faculty, including myself, and a percentage of those faculty need to be master's prepared. I can hire non-master's prepared faculty with the caveat that they have a certain amount of time to get their master's in nursing. And that's an accreditation in a Maine State Board of Nursing rule that we have master's prepared nurses in order to teach. So I currently have, let me think for a second, one faculty who is not master's prepared, and we support her educationally throughout the program so that she can obtain her master's in nursing. and is able to teach. Nurses, no matter what field you come from, have teaching experience, and we're able to mentor and grow those faculty as educators within the program.
Thank you very much. A follow-up, if I might, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Representative.
Thank you for that information. So can you help us understand either now or at the work session if those nurses who are not currently certified to be teachers, what is their work status? Are they under adjunct professor titles?
For the community college system, for my program, we consider an adjunct somebody who is just doing the clinical portion of our program. And for those adjuncts, the requirement is that they have a bachelor's degree. For full-time faculty who would teach in the program, meaning they teach the didactic, and all of my faculty do didactic and clinical, those are the folks that have to have the master's degree. So my distinction is adjunct do clinical only. Full-time faculty do both the didactic and the clinical. And the full-time faculty need to have a master's, and the adjuncts are required to have a bachelor's level.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions, folks, at this time? Seeing none, Ms. McManus, thank you very much for your testimony and your time with us this morning.
Yes, thank
Continue to
you.
work. Have a great day. Next up, folks, is Lisa Gaddy Arnold. Lisa will be followed by Lisa Harvey McPherson. Yes, McPherson. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Gaddy Arnold, and I'm the program chair of a new nursing program at York County Community College in Wells. We're preparing to enroll our first students in this coming fall. I want to thank the committee for allowing me to speak today as you explore the need for additional funding for nursing programs in the state of Maine. As President Dagler mentioned, nursing programs are quite expensive to develop and maintain due to their need for highly qualified faculty, lab costs, and intensive amount of hours required in both lab and clinicals, as well as the state board nursing and accreditation requirements, to include limited cohort sizes based on all the resources mentioned. As I worked to develop this program, one of the most challenging processes has been the creations of an admissions process. We are currently budgeted to enroll 32 students for a cohort every other year. So to be clear, after this fall, we will not be able to enroll additional students until 2024. As of this morning, we currently have at least 90 applicants, and people are still applying. So it is a fact that we will be turning away many qualified people who are ready to begin their nursing education due to our limited financial resources. With an adequate increase in funding, York County Community College could add an additional cohort of 32 students to double our capacity. The additional funding would enable us to hire needed faculty, purchase additional lab supplies, and ensure that students have adequate resources required to learn the nursing skills they need to become entry-level registered nurses. This increase would be highly impactful for the healthcare agencies in York County, as well as the surrounding areas, and better address the growing need for nurses in our area. Thank you, and I hope you support LD 1807.
Thank you very much. Folks, do we have any questions of Ms. Gaddy Arnold at this time? I'm seeing none. Again, thank you for being with us this morning. We appreciate your testimony and your time. You have a great day. Next up is Lisa Harvey McPherson.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Good morning, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and Education Committee members. My name is Lisa Harvey McPherson, and I'm testifying today on behalf of Maine's Nursing Action Coalition. Every state in the country has an action coalition, and the coalitions were funded by AARP and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation to take a component of the Institute of Medicine Future of Nursing report and bring those actionable items to fruition. The Maine Nursing Action Coalition chose to focus on nursing workforce data, and I'm so pleased our data continues to be talked about today. Our first report in 2015 projected Maine's nursing workforce shortage to be a shortage of 3,200 RNs by 2025. We worked closely with all of our clinical partners and all of our academic partners here in the state of Maine to implement efforts to increase nursing student capacity. And in 2018, when we updated our nursing workforce projection, we had reduced the shortage to 2,700 RNs by 2025. Today, I am completing our nursing workforce projection with our data consultant that will reflect nursing workforce data through November of 2021. And I hope to have that data available for your work session. I've seen the preliminary report, and I can share with you, we have some positive trends. The largest growth in the number of new licensed nurses are nurses who are under the age of 35. So we are bringing younger nurses into the workforce, and that's a great thing. I can also report to you that nurses are working at full employment in the state of Maine. And we still have a projected shortage by 2025, and that's the final number I'm waiting to share with from our consultant, and we will have a public announcement, and certainly any information I have, I will have available at the work session. The most recent data that we have is a report that was done by Susan Seppels, Associate Professor of Nursing at the University of Southern Maine. She publishes every 2 years a report on the status of nursing education in the state of Maine, and it's available on the USM website, and you just log on to nursing reports. We are making progress in increasing the number of nursing graduates, and it's my understanding that we are at capacity for our nursing programs, and our programs do require additional investment. I do have some data in my testimony about the number of nursing graduates, but the most important number to look at is the number of newly licensed nurses, new nurses taking their exam for licensure in the state of Maine. These are the new graduates testing in Maine who are the most likely to stay in the state of Maine and practice. In 2020, 864 new nurses sat for the NCLEX exam here in Maine, and this is up from 768 in 2019. Progress is being made, but we are still challenged with capacity in our nursing education programs. And here I'll focus on data regarding associate degree programs. In 2020, Maine's associate degree programs denied admission to 150 qualified applicants statewide, and another 84 applicants were accepted but deferred due to program capacity. So this is the excellent data point that supports the intent of this bill to increase the capacity of the community college programs to add more students with a licensure goal of the associate degree in nursing. And while we are making positive progress, as you've heard, Maine is still challenged with a nursing workforce shortage, and healthcare providers statewide are working hard to recruit nurses for current vacancies, but large vacancies exist. And this is due in part to the intensity of care during COVID. We simply need more nurses to take care of patients who are sicker. But we also have an aging nursing workforce, and we have had retirements out of the profession for nurses who have reached the end of their career, voluntarily reached the end of their career. And I want to conclude by thanking all of you for your support for the Nurse Faculty Loan Repayment Program. LD 1733 that passed last spring included, for the first time since 2005, when the program was created, for the first time we have funding for the Nurse Faculty Loan Repayment Program. We have $1 million in the American Relief Funds that are now dedicated to the loan repayment program that will be managed by the Finance Authority of Maine. And in the supplemental budget, you'll see some language around the number of years a nurse needs to teach full-time. And that has to do with the nuances of how long we have to spend the ARP money. But once that is taken care of, a nurse that agrees to teach full-time in Maine for a minimum of 3 years will receive substantial loan support for his or her student debt, up to $20,000 for a master's degree and up to $40,000 for a master's degree. Yeah, a doctoral degree. Doctoral degree is 40,000, excuse me. And this gets at the point that Representative Millette raised about salary disparity. There is disparity from nurses who are practicing in healthcare settings and nurses who choose to teach full-time. And the intent of the faculty loan repayment program is to offset their debt for that advanced education as an incentive to teach. And with that, I will conclude my testimony and welcome any questions that you have.
Thank you very much. Representative Dodge has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Harvey McPherson, for being here today. My question pertains to drilling a little deeper, if we could, perhaps for the work session, on the allocation of funds for this program to create an increased number of clinicals. Is that part of the problem why students are deferred, in addition to the lack of faculty and just the general lack of student positions created by that lack of faculty? I'm hoping the 2.5 million will address sort of the overarching other situations that may be in play. Specifically about the clinicals, I'm guessing if you need a nurse to supervise a student in a hospital setting, we are not only talking about a limited number of those positions and nurses to sponsor them, but also just the ability for our nursing students to travel to those clinical placements if they're outside, just an hour or so travel. I know that travel is also a student issue sometimes. Could you talk about that for just a bit? And could we have some discussion about that in the work session if that's more appropriate? Thank you.
Yeah, I can be very brief and certainly respond with my academic partners at the work session. Increasing student capacity in Maine's nursing programs is a partnership between full-time faculty to teach in the program and clinical placements in Maine's healthcare settings throughout the state of Maine. You cannot have one without the other. It is very common for hospitals and other settings to have nurses who are employed in the hospital setting serve as clinical faculty. Not every program, every clinical faculty person is employed by the hospital, but that's a very common partnership to help support our academic partners. And so we in terms of Maine's Nursing Leadership Group and Maine's Nursing Action Coalition, working with our academic partners, when you have a significant increase in capacity, which is needed, we have to have a concurrent increase in capacity and clinical placements. And that's an obligation of all of the nursing leaders in Maine to support our nursing students in our healthcare settings.
Any other questions, folks, at this time? And thank you, Ms. Harvey McPherson. We appreciate your being with us today, your testimony and your expertise. It's greatly appreciated and very helpful. Thank you for your continued work, and you have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Next up is Marie Vino, I believe it is. I'm sorry if I butchered that enunciation. And then Marie will be followed by Mark Four and Pillar Burmeister.
Great. You did a perfect pronunciation. Thank you. Good morning, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and members of the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. My name is Marie Vino, and I am a Senior Vice President for Northern Light Health, as well as the President for Northern Light C.A. Dean Hospital in Greenville, Maine, and Northern Light Mayo Hospital in Dover-Foxcroft, Maine. And I'm here today to provide testimony on behalf of Northern Light Health and our member organizations speaking in support of this bill. Northern Light Health is dedicated to supporting nursing education programs as they work to create the future nursing workforce for Maine. Our nursing leaders, managers, and preceptors work with nursing faculty, providing thousands of hours of clinical experiences in our hospitals and other healthcare settings. We offset the cost of nursing education with tuition support, and we encourage Northern Light Health nurses to serve as adjunct faculty. Our experience demonstrates that nurses from Maine who complete nursing education programs in the state are far more likely to stay in Maine after graduation. In the years before COVID-19, Northern Light Health had a consistent trend of recruiting 200 to 300 RNs annually to work in healthcare settings. Today, we are recruiting for 500 RNs. It is well known that Maine's RN workforce is older than nurses nationally, with many nurses choosing to retire from practice. The intensity of care provided to COVID-19 patients has also increased the need for additional nursing professionals. We are in full support of the bill before you today that provides funding to increase the student capacity of the community college nursing education programs. The community college nursing education programs are outstanding partners for Northern Light Health. In addition to our traditional role supporting clinical placements for students, we have also worked together to develop new education partnerships addressing the unique needs of rural hospitals like mine and nursing facilities. Hospitals participating in the Rural Partnership dedicate a master's prepared nurse to serve as on-site faculty for community college nursing students at our hospitals. The students complete their clinical experiences in the community with oversight from our hospital faculty staff and attend community college lectures via technology. This speaks directly to the concern of travel for these students. They are allowed to be completely educated within their home community. And many of them are our own employees who have been in a different role and are promoting their career to become an RN. The hospitals that are currently running one of these programs are C.A. Dean Hospital, Mayo Hospital, Maine Coast Hospital, and Sebasticook Valley Hospital. All participate in this highly successful program. Thus far, we have supported approximately 30 community college nursing students in the Rural Partnership Program. The community college is uniquely positioned to partner with Northern Light Health and other healthcare employers to graduate associate degree prepared registered nurses who are then employed and supported to advance to bachelor's degree nursing education with the tuition costs supported by Northern Light Health and healthcare employers throughout the state. I ask for your support to pass this important legislation supporting the future of the nursing workforce. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Folks, do we have any questions of Ms. Vino at this time? Seeing none, again, thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate you being here and the work that you continue to do. So you have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We have two more folks here to testify with us. And first up will be Mark Four, and Mark will be followed by Pillar Burmeister.
Thank you very much, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and members of the committee. I'm Dr. Mark Foray, President of Penn Bay Medical Center and Waldo County General Hospital. I'm here today to testify in strong support of LD 1807. In addition to serving as president of two local health systems, I am also proud to serve as a member of the Maine Community College System Board of Trustees. I'd like to sincerely thank Senator Daughtry for bringing this bill forward, and Governor Mills for including the funding in the proposed supplemental budget. I will add that Senator Daughtry beautifully captured the real experience of care team members who are on the front lines, and I'd like to thank her for offering that perspective. The COVID-19 pandemic has put tremendous pressure on every aspect of the healthcare system and has exacerbated a long-standing workforce crisis. We've long known that we are heading towards a retirement cliff, and that Maine would experience the national shortage of healthcare workers more acutely due to our rapidly aging population. The pandemic has only exacerbated and accelerated this impending shortage. Healthcare systems continue to grapple with the increased demand for services as our patients voluntarily put off care during the pandemic, and providers like Maine Health were forced to postpone procedures due to COVID. In the period between November and January, Maine Medical Center delayed 2,138 cases, and locally we have delayed over 200 cases. That pent-up demand means that we're now seeing more patients and more acutely ill patients than ever before. Our inpatient census has been at capacity nearly every day, a situation that rarely occurred before the pandemic. Maine Health has responded by adding almost 1,000 positions to accommodate the increased volume, but it still hasn't been enough. Out of approximately 6,000 nursing positions at Maine Health, over 860 are currently vacant. In addition to investing over $39 million last year to retain our nurses, Maine Health has also made significant investments in our recruitment efforts in order to help grow our own in an effort to address the shortage. In fact, Maine Health has partnered with all 15 nursing programs in the state to help our own employees grow in their careers. We have done so by supporting entry-level employees' enrollment in nursing programs and ongoing development for our nurses who wish to advance their careers by pursuing advanced degrees. We have also engaged in a variety of creative approaches with our academic partners, in which we provide clinical instructors from our expert RN staff while we preserve their salaries and benefits at our own cost to allow for expanded enrollment capacity. The Maine Hospital Association estimates that hospitals are currently recruiting for 1,500 to 2,000 nurses. Hospitals and the state's nursing programs have made inroads in addressing the shortage of nurses and the growing wait list, but legislative action is needed if we're going to be successful. The demand for the nursing program is clear, and thousands of good-paying, high-quality nursing careers are waiting to be filled. This bill takes a big step towards meeting that need. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Dr. Foray, for being here this morning. My first question is it a statewide policy for, well, perhaps you can't answer for Northern Light, but is it a policy throughout Maine Health, did I hear you correctly, to maintain the salary level of a nurse who is willing to oversee the clinicals of students? That's my first question, please.
Yes, so you understood that correctly. I can't speak to the academics that we heard earlier about the difference between the full-time and clinical faculty versus the on-site clinical supervision, but of those nurses that we support, that is all correct.
Thank you. A follow-up, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So as a committee member who is into education, not the medical side, are there concerns either specifically to you or broadly across the state that we will pull some of our best nurses perhaps to oversee education, which may create a shift away from direct patient care? Is that a valid concern, and how will you plan to address that possible shift, please? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I will admit that my answer is a bit biased in that I spent the first 20 years of my career in education. So I spent a big chunk of my career teaching emergency medicine residents and medical students how to become clinicians. And from my perspective, teaching is just flat out fun. So I'm not actually worried about that. In fact, as we have added the residency program at Maine Med, which I was fortunate to lead, and medical students here locally at Penn Bay and Waldo, there are many, many clinicians who said, you know, this has extended my career. I was tuckered out, but to be around teaching, to be around young students who are excited about the prospect of providing care to our patients, it not only is okay, it extends careers and brings people into the profession. So no, it's all pluses from my perspective.
Thank you both. Any additional questions for Mr. Foray at this time? Seeing none, sir. Again, thank you for being here with us today. Appreciate your testimony, and your expertise is very helpful.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Next up is also speaking in support will be Pillar Burmeister. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, my name is Pilar Burmeister. I am the director of the nursing program at Eastern Maine Community College. I have worked here since 2014 and have been the director since 2015. What I would like to say to the committee is I hope you support this bill because I know I can speak for my fellow directors at the other community colleges that they need funds for certain things, but I can tell you exactly what I'm going to spend this money on should we get it. So I hope that you're excited to hear it. I'm excited if I get it. What we need here at EM is a real sim lab. I do not have one. I have not had one since I've come here. When I first came here back in 2014, we used simulation in a very limited capacity, but now we use it in every single semester. And so when I first came here, we have a very small sim room. And that's what we were using. And we have completely outgrown that. So right now we are actually renting space over at Eastern Maine Medical Center for our sim lab, but we really need our own. We also need staff to staff our proposed sim lab. And I'd like to explain to you why a sim lab is so vitally important for every nursing program, but it will help mine to increase capacity. I will say that I have increased capacity by almost double since I've gotten here in this position. When I first started, we used to take 32 students just here in Bangor. We now take 40 here in Bangor, and I have now, as of the other day, 6 distant sites. One of them that Marie was speaking about. We do Greenville, Millinocket, Ellsworth, Dover, Pittsfield, and now we are going to be helping Washington County Community College start their own nursing program. So we're very excited about that. That's going to start this very fall, and that's going to help Washington County, which really needs a lot of nurses. It's kind of hard to recruit to a lot of these outlying small hospitals. A lot of people, no offense to Greenville, but don't want to live in Greenville. And so what we're doing is we are bringing the program to them up at CA Dean, and the nurses that graduate from that program are working at CA Dean. They're staying there. In fact, almost all of my grads stay here in Maine, which is really, really important for us. We don't want to, educate nurses and then have them leave and go to another state. We want them here. So I will be spending that money on SIM. So the reason why SIM is so vitally important to schools of nursing is this. The Maine State Board of Nursing allows us to use up to 50% of our clinical time in simulation. So as I stated in my letter, which I don't want to repeat to you because you can read my letter, we are competing with 7 other schools of nursing for clinical placement in the Bangor area, which includes St. Joe's, Acadia, and Eastern Maine Medical Center. So that is a lot of nursing students that they cannot accommodate. So we need another venue to teach them, which is simulation. So if I could take, like right now, I only use about 13% of my clinical hours as simulation because I don't have a sim lab. I need a sim lab. And anyway, if I had a sim lab that was fully staffed and I could run it 5-7 days a week, I could take more students because I wouldn't have to depend on the hospitals to place them. I could do 50% in simulation. So that is why I desperately need you to please support this bill. We need the money for this so that we can take more students. I am taking more students. We have increased our capacity from 32 to this fall will be 68 students. So I have more than doubled the number since I've got here, and I shoot for the stars. So I would love to do more. Just let me do it. I just need the money to do it. So I appreciate all your support. thank you so much. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Ms. Burmeister. Your enthusiasm certainly comes through. Just curious, and I'm sorry if I missed it. What would the sim lab cost? What would the?
Well, I am a very frugal person, and we have been able to find a spot in our college to build it. The actual building of the sim lab is probably about $50,000, but what costs money is the outfitting of it. So, for example, a mannequin, a high fidelity mannequin usually runs somewhere around $30,000 to $40,000, and I would need 4 of them. I need a bed for them to go in. I need a head wall. I need a Pyxis. I need 2 Pyxis machines. I need IV pumps. You know, all the things to outfit it would probably cost me somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000. And then I need faculty. So I know you're looking at only 2.5 million, which personally I could just use myself, but there's other colleges that need some money too. So, but yeah, it would be a huge help to be able to build and outfit this this sim lab. And this is stuff that, you know, the room itself is not going to go away. It's not like something that's going to, you know, go bad or whatever. And yes, equipment will need to be replaced every so many years, but luckily it's like in drips and drabs. It's not all at once. So it's more affordable to do to replace things as they break than it is to buy everything at once.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions? Yes, Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Pilar, Ms. Burmeister, for your presentation and your enthusiasm. I'd like to do just a little bit of a question around Philips in the Boston area, the company that does medical technology. Are there partnerships, grants, just general out and out gifts that companies such as Philips utilize in partnership with training facilities that such that you are describing? And my nephew, full disclosure, my nephew works for Philips as a biomedical engineer, but I am just thinking that some help out in the field from companies like this, entities must have some sort of charity work. I hope that they might be able to offer if you are able to take advantage of that. Do you know of any such programs? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I do not. I do know that some of my fellow community colleges have been able to utilize companies like TD Bank and whatnot to help them. I have asked my college if that's something that they would allow, and they've kind of said no. So I'm not sure why. But yeah, I mean, I'm totally open to that. I mean, I would love to have 4 sim rooms, and they can all be named after different places that want to give me money. So like Bangor Savings or Bar Harbor Savings or Philips or whoever, Nike, I don't care who it is. If they want to give me money to build this, I'm willing to do it and put their name right on it. And I'll even put it in the schedule. I'll say, hey, you know, student number 1, you're going to be in the Nike Sim Lab today. So I'm all for it.
You're on mute, Senator.
Muted myself. I'm not seeing any other questions at this time. So again, thank you, Ms. Burmeister, for your testimony and your availability today. And good luck with your work moving forward.
Thank you so much for having me.
Darlene, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that concludes our testimony today.
You are correct.
Thank you. So, folks, I am going to close the public hearing on LD 1807 at this time. I do know that we have 2 additional hearings. I have a hand up from Ms. Rizla.
Sorry, I think perhaps Darlene was about to jump in. I did see Representative Zager here who had tried to testify earlier if you wanted to still hear from him on that bill.
He is available. I'm sorry, I missed that somewhere.
I did too.
Yeah, I think he was first up after Ms. Senator Daughtry. I can reopen that hearing to listen to Representative Zager's testimony if he's available. So, excuse me, sir, but let me just reopen the hearing before you. I need to, I guess, I better be official. So I will reopen the hearing for an additional testimony at this time for LD 1807. Thank you and welcome, Representative.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and hello to the rest of the committee. I don't want to take up time. All I'll simply say is I've submitted comments. I won't repeat what has already been described. I will call attention if people do get a chance to look at what I've submitted to the last half page. But thank you so much. I really appreciate the chance to comment.
Thank you, sir, and my apologies if I had missed you earlier. So,
I've been bouncing around. I just joined in the last 10 minutes or so. Again, so thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you. Have a good day. Any questions, folks, real quickly? Seeing none, again, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it, and thanks for your written testimony as well. And I can close the public hearing on LD 1807 at this time. Folks, as I was saying, we do have 2 additional hearings. I don't believe I'm not going to curse myself, but I know one is my own, and I don't anticipate that being tremendously long. So I'd like to push through our hearings if we could. If you need to take your own personal break, feel free to do so. And because mine's coming up next, I am going to ask or turn over the so-called gavel to Representative Brennan for LD 1962. Thank you for doing so, sir.
Well, thank you, Senator Rafferty, and I've captured the imaginary gavel. So thanks for handing it over. And what we will do is open the public hearing on LD 1962, and we will welcome our colleague and Senate Chair, Senator Rafferty, to present the bill.
Thank you, Representative Brennan. And folks, as you know, I am Senator Joe Rafferty, and I represent Senate District 34. That's Acton and Lebanon, parts of Berwick, North Berwick, Wells, and Kennebunk. As recently as yesterday, LD 1962 was amended, and I sent it to you folks in the amendment form last night. My apologies for the late changes. At one time, I thought I had a lot of time to work, but as our schedule builds and we get other responsibilities to do, that time went by rather quickly. But so there have been some changes. The biggest being, I guess, that the bill establishes what I thought would be high impact tutoring. That is, in essence, I've renamed the bill to read that it establishes the Innovative Instruction and Tutoring Grant Program Fund with the Department of Education. It directs the commissioner to establish standards for awarding grants meant to help local education providers address student learning loss or unfinished learning, which this committee has heard a growing concern among educators statewide. It will do so by utilizing federal funds to create those grants. Qualifying schools will need to create groups of students for a minimum of 6 weeks and provide high-quality trained staff, including, but not limited to, teachers, paraprofessionals, and community providers. Curriculum must be aligned with the local education academic standards, using the high-quality content, rich, projected-based curricula. In addition, the program must incorporate relevant student experiences and background knowledge in the development of the learning project. It must be data-driven with interim assessments and target to all students in grade level or school. It is difficult to measure, but schools have seen achievement losses among students as they went from in-person learning during the 1920 school year. Learning rates were considered normal up until March of 2020, when schools went to remote. From that point on, learning estimates dropped to about 52% of normal levels. Households with lower income rates showed a greater rate of loss, and all students struggle with no instruction throughout the summer and obviously experienced a normal summer drop-off. Priority for the grants should go to those serving low-income households or underserved students to address learning loss. And as I mentioned, unfinished learning due to the extended gaps or interruptions that those students may have. I'm sure you will have questions. And again, my apologies for the late changes or amendments, but I wanted to make those before the work session, and ask that you join me in supporting LD 1962. I think that it is a good approach for us. It is, we'll work with the department, and it gives them, it gives educators the resources that they need to accelerate learning this year and into the future for those students that are they deem behind schedule. So I look forward to the work session, but most importantly for your support.
Thank you, Senator Rafferty, for your comments and for the amendment. I know people did get it only within the last couple of days, but I, for one, thought it the amendment was moving the bill in the right direction. So I look forward to working with you on that amendment. So at this point, are there any questions of Senator Rafferty of members of the committee? Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not so much a question for Senator Rafferty, but for information that we would want for the work session, if we could. I'm interested in what pot of money, the description of this program sounds exactly to me like the CLC program, the grant program that we've had in the past. So I'm interested in what pot of money, and I'm really interested in whether and why that would require legislative approval. Perhaps that's written into the federal grant that comes to the DOE. So a little background on that, why they can't just set up their own format for distributing those funds. And that's the kind of information I'm looking forward to.
Thank you, Representative Stearns. And I'm sure Ms. Rizzler got your question. Are there any other questions from members of the committee of Senator Rafferty? Representative Millett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator, I was wondering if you could help me understand why the class size or the size of the group was removed, and the requirement that it be continued through the academic year, because as I understand it, those two elements are based on some excellent science and research, most particularly through the RAND report. So I will say I was disappointed to see those removed and would love to hear why. Thank you.
There is just a minimum of 6 weeks. There was nothing that said it was limited to 6 weeks. So if a local district saw a need to extend that beyond that, then that's allowable.
And the size of the group?
The size of the group, I believe, I'm gonna have to look because I don't remember changing it, but I could easily have put a line through it. It was somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think there was a suggestion this. It just says provided for groups of students. Again, that would be determined locally. So if I could, you might be able, depending upon the group, as I see it, you might be able to manage more kids in a room with some topics as opposed to others. So, but there's no limit to the size.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank
Just to follow up, I understand that. I just think I would want to understand for the work session what we're gaining by not trying to support best practices in our schools by having those guardrails. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee? All right, seeing none, Senator Rafferty, thank you very much. And obviously we will schedule a work session on the bill. Next up, we have Eileen King, and I see that she's already with us. Good afternoon, Ms. King. Good to see you, and you can proceed.
Good afternoon, Representative Brennan, Senator Rafferty, and members of the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. I am Eileen King, Deputy Executive Director of Maine School Management Association, testifying in support of LD 1962 on behalf of the legislative committees of the Maine School Boards Association and the Maine School Superintendents Association. When our associations first reviewed this bill prior to the amendment, they were seeking clarity in the funding source as well as logistics of the programs. Many of their questions have been addressed in the amendment, but some questions remain in regard to some aspects of the plan. It would be helpful to clarify the definition of a local education provider. Is that a school, a YMCA, or some other community group? To be eligible for funds for the instruction must be provided by high quality trained staff, included but not limited to teachers, paraprofessionals, or community providers. Will the community providers be certified, and how will we ensure that they have the qualifications to provide quality instruction? In terms of student safety, we also would like clarification on whether these instructors, i.e. community providers, would be required to go through a criminal background check outlined in Title 20A. We appreciate the changes that have been made in the amendment that allows for flexibility, such as the size of the groups, the length of the time the students will participate, and when the instruction will take place. We also applaud the focus on project-based learning and interdisciplinary instruction. School leaders know we have students who need extra help absent a pandemic, and a well-run program would have great value. Our system of learning results outlines standards that students must meet at the various grade levels, and certainly additional support would be beneficial. We would be very happy to work with the department on this proposal to ensure its success and again, support its intent to help all students achieve, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. King, for your comments. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, I don't know if we'll see you again today, but have a good week.
Thank you. You too.
We next have Courtney Bololan. Is she here?
No, unless she's Megan Welter. Are they both from this? Is Megan from the Curriculum Leaders Association as well?
I don't know.
You don't know either? No.
No,
okay,
Megan's
Hilary-
with the department.
Walter is from the Department of Education.
Okay. Well, I don't see her on the list then.
Okay, so we don't have Courtney with us right now. The last speaker that I see to testify is Deborah Parker.
Okay, she's on her way.
Okay.
I hope. Yep.
And Ms. Semino, we don't have anybody else signed up after Ms. Parker, right?
No, we don't.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Is the department not testifying?
Can
Not,
you hear me now? I'm sorry.
they're not signed up to testify now.
Can you hear me now? Deborah Parker?
Yes.
I'm here. Okay.
Good afternoon, Ms. Parker. And I understand that you're here to testify on LD 1962. So you can proceed with your testimony.
Okay.
Ms. Parker,
good
I would say
afternoon.
we can hear you, but we can't see you.
And why is that? Let's see. Can you see me now? No.
Not yet.
What do we do here to get this so you can see me?
That is truly not a question I can answer.
All right. Well, I have had major.
Well, if you want to proceed,
I'm fine.
we can hear your audio. So please go ahead.
All right, that's fine. Good afternoon now, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and honorable members of Education and Cultural Affairs. Before I begin, I'm neither for or against. That's how I'm presenting today for LD 1962. And the reason that is because I'm bringing you something unique that doesn't quite fit the definition of what you know as tutoring, but it's like tomatoes and tomatoes. So I'm going to go ahead with that concept. Please consider this for what we've heard earlier today as an R1 designation, if you will, for research and for humanities and social services and social sciences, because that's exactly what this is. So I enjoyed today's presentations thoroughly because you hit the target several times for me. Anyway, I'm here because I'm president of Future Vision Youth Development, 501c3 nonprofit, and in Rockport, Maine. I'm also a alumni of Northeastern University in Allied Health. I think Representative Dodge said medical technology. I was lab director in that field for several years, and I'm also have a behavioral degree in New York Institute of Technology with my master's in behavioral sciences. And I additionally have a PhD started, but got stuck in that for-profit fraud in America at the universities, 35 universities. So I am a PhD ABD at the moment. We're still working on that with 8,000 to 10,000 other students that got caught up in it. Anyway, so here we are today with a highly researched, high quality, and focused community ESA supportive innovative initiative. And here today, we're going to call it tutoring. With all its proven research and evidence, it is truly a simple recovery tool. But with this new material, we can in 6 hours tutor ed techs who will train or tutor their students for 12 weeks. And if we move fast, we got boots on the ground right now, ready to go. And I enjoyed President Degler's phraseology, shovels ready. We're past that stage. We've been ready and waiting for 20 years. So anyway, LD 1962 can help our shortage of teachers this year as well, even though it's directed to the students themselves. We are direct services. We show them, we can educate the ed techs and show them how, with their quick student recovery, we can actually support keeping our teachers in their classrooms so that they can teach to a new class of students, the same ones, but we're going to do it once again, this time the right way. What we're going to do is we're going to open up this new opportunity by, I had the tutoring restrictions. I had a problem with the tutoring restrictions that you had in here for groups of 4 or 5. I got the original amendment. But anyway, we can recover 42 low performing students each 12 weeks. And they can recover, they're recovered in half a day, you know, with ed techs for half a day, 15 minutes a day, 12 weeks only. And It's like a bathroom break time that has to be applied for these 12 weeks. Anyway, at the end of the school year, because we can do it in 12 weeks, we can do 3 or 4 sessions. So we can create 126 student recovery. And again, this is, I would like this to be considered after we're finished with the summer school program as an essential program for Maine schools, so that this struggle never has to happen again. And if you have the data in your hand, you will understand why. And I understand the standoffishness of people that don't understand the difference. There's a gap between education and medicine. I worked medicine for 40 years, but I also worked education for 30. I developed these programs with a team of doctors who are specialists in the field. So we're ready to go. We've done this before. And anyway, we ran this PhD work, as you all well know, with the teachers tool. And I've had requests for that from teachers again recently. That tool identified the students who had the need. And then we work with the teachers to select any others by teacher referral. We apply this training to the ed techs. It's an hour and a half in 6 hours total in 12 weeks. And the recovery is immediate. The students can calm down, the anxiety can go away, and we can actually have learners again. I've given you enough testimony from them directly over this past session, so you know what I'm saying is true. So all we want to do now is run this unique program with the Maine DOE as partners, because the kids deserve better, and we're going to deliver. This is recovery. This is something new. It's never been done before. It's new. And we've listened to everybody today talk about how hard and difficult the times are. Well, we need something with a breath of fresh air, and here we are. So what we're going to do is offer this in summer school and have an interested SAU. It also has application on the bigger picture with American public education, even for the military and boot camp. So we want to recover all these not people that are struggling with reading books, struggling with reading text. We want to recover them and give them a choice. What this will do, open up fields of internships, professional development, and for the students, we're going to actually have broadening choice. It will thrive on this 2-year of community college opportunity. So anyway, we start at 3rd grade. That's where it begins. We move smoothly to recover those children because they're not hard at that point. We move to 6th to 8th, and we run into a little bit more difficulty because those kids are already experiencing lives. They're already struggling, but we can identify them with the Teach T, that new teachers tool that we used in the PhD that approved by USM. See, we're already in the main system. We just got to apply the R1 classification to all this work, and we've got it made. And then we move forward when the kids can, with this Teach T, we get a lot of information. We get anxiety issues. We get limitations on symptoms and what specifically is limiting them. We get to identify the source and cause of the problem. And then we move forward. These kids by this age, though, 6 to 8, are already, it's getting a little bit late because they've already been harmed socially and emotionally, and they're now living with poor self-esteem. And it's it's unnecessary. We can fix this earlier, and we will in the future. But right now we have a whole group of students that need critical attention, and we're going to deliver. So we actually heal the kids first. The kids
Mr. Chair.
Did you have a point of order, Senator Woodson?
Yes, I do. Point of order. Thank you. I do not follow the speaker's information on how it relates to this bill right here. It appears to be more of a promotion for her own philosophy and principles.
Okay. I'll thank you, Senator Woodson. I'll remind the speaker, Ms. Parker, If you could speak directly to the items in the bill or to the amendment, that would be relevant and appropriate at this point.
I will do that. On B, section 3, tutoring plans eligibility, it says, and this is not on the revision, I'm sorry, you may have corrected it already, provided by the same tutor, that the tutoring has to be applied by the same tutor. We will have trained ed techs. That's fine. So they will be able to do the same story 3 times a year. So that's been corrected. And the other thing is that you wanted line F, aligned with local educational providers' academic standards using high quality curricula. What curricula? Would they consider this work that we bring to be curricula, or does that have, it has 10 pages of research support. I assume it would meet criteria. So that's my only questions. So the answer is this recovery process is critical now in education to save our teachers. And I'm finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments. Are there any questions of Ms. Parker? Seeing none, have a nice day. That completes the list of people who have registered to testify on LD 1962. Does the committee have any questions or any informational requests for our analysts in preparation for work session? Seeing none, I will officially close the public hearing on LD 1962. And Senator Rafferty, I'm assuming that we'll just push forward because we only have 2 people to testify on the next bill. All right. So we'll officially open the public hearing on LD 1963. And we would look to Representative La Rochelle to present the bill. Is she here, Ms. Semino? Yes, she is here. Representative La Rochelle, good morning. It's afternoon. I'm sorry, it's good afternoon.
Yes, it is afternoon. Good afternoon.
Thank you for being with us. And we understand that you're here to present LD 1963. And so you have the floor and you can proceed.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and esteemed colleagues of the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. I am Representative Reagan La Rochelle, and I represent House District 86, which is part of Augusta. I'm here today to present LD 1963, an act to create the General Purpose Aid Stabilization Fund. In June 2021, the Maine legislature passed a budget that fulfilled the state's commitment to Maine schools, municipalities, and teachers by funding 55% of K through 12 public education costs as outlined in statute. This inclusion and the bipartisan support that this measure received was one of the most significant victories of the first legislative session. It took us nearly 17 years to meet this obligation, and I hope, as I know many of you do too, that we continue to fulfill this responsibility. LD 1963 would create a stabilization fund that would act as a security net should future administrations fail to meet the 55% funding threshold. A continued commitment to fund education at this level provides more reliability for schools planning their budgets and reduces the burden on taxpayers, school administrators, and municipalities to fill in the gaps. This fund also increases equity across districts by helping to level the playing field between districts with lower median incomes and those with higher incomes that are able to put more municipal money into education. It also helps to increase tax fairness. For too long, our communities have had to carry the weight of supporting our schools, and we all know how fundamental our school systems are to the success, development, and enrichment of our children. Without proper funding, the system as a whole is strained, which then trickles down to our students, impacting their ability to learn and thrive. It is also crucial that our teachers feel supported and that we do what we can to reduce the already insurmountable demands that they face. I am glad to see the governor is also looking to continue funding education at this level, and I look forward to working with this administration, the Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee, as well as this committee, to ensure that we continue to support our educators, our property taxpayers, and our students at the level approved by Maine voters. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Thank you very much for your comments, and thank you very much for being here. And are there any questions from members of the committee for Representative LaRochelle? Seeing none, thank you very much. And there will be a works session that will be scheduled. I believe we have it for next Thursday. And obviously you'll be invited, notified, and we look forward to working with you on the bill.
Great, thank you very much.
Next up to testify in favor of the bill, we have John Kaczynski. Good afternoon, Mr. Kaczynski, and please go forward with your comments.
Good afternoon, Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and members of the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. My name is John Kaczynski, and I'm here on behalf of the Maine Education Association to testify in strong support of LD 1963, an act to create the General Purpose Aid Stabilization Fund. As you all know, the MEA represents nearly 24,000 educators in our state, including pre-K to 12 educators in nearly every public school in the state of Maine. First, thank you. Thank you to Governor Mills and this legislature for finally fulfilling the state's obligation to fund 55% of the cost of public schools. This is a historic achievement. The battle to ensure adequate funding for our schools has been waged for nearly 2 decades, and repeatedly previous legislatures and the 2 previous governors failed to live up to the basic commitment to public schools, the students they serve, the educators who work in them, and the taxpayers who fund them. Achieving and maintaining the commitment to 55% state funding for schools is a huge success, and the bipartisan support last year should be celebrated. I simply cannot imagine how schools could have done all they have done over the past 2 years to provide an education to students during a global pandemic without the 55% state funding and the generous support from the federal government. So thank you again. However, we know economies are cyclical, boom and bust, bull and bear. We know the historic increases the state is seeing in revenue are unlikely to continue indefinitely. Instead, world events or other matters outside of our control will likely drive continued fluctuations in state revenues. Imagining the state's economy will continue to grow as it has done over the past year or more would be wishful thinking. This is exactly why we support LD 1963, to create a stabilization fund for schools so we can put money aside today to plan for the inevitable dip in state revenues in the future. We can't predict when the next downturn will hit, but we know the state is seeing historic revenue increases, and socking away money now is fiscally prudent for public schools. Too often, fiscal uncertainty from the states creates fiscal uncertainty in local public schools. Huge dips in federal or state funding for schools leaves local communities with a multiple choice of bad options. Raise property taxes, cut or scale back existing programs, pause or sideline efforts at innovation or new programs designed to help students succeed. Oh, how we wish we had a stabilization fund in 2008. After speculation on Wall Street disrupted the housing market and nearly caused the economy to collapse. In 2009, the state reduced aid to schools by $31 million, thus moving the state contribution from 53% to 49.5%. In 2010, public schools saw an additional cut of $21 million, and then another cut of $40 million in 2011, a nearly $100 million reduction in state aid over 3 years. In fact, in 2011, the state was only funding 44.9% of the cost of public schools, falling over $200 million short in funding its commitment of 55% funding passed by voters in 2004. It wasn't until fiscal year 16 the state finally returned the same dollar figure in funding as public schools had in 2008, $983 million. Let that sink in. In 2008, the state contribution to schools was $983 million. In fiscal year 16, it was $983 million. Although by that time, that figure now only represented 46.6% of the cost of public education. Let's hope the next downturn isn't as bad as what our state and our country experienced in 2008. But we hope the stabilization fund can be used to even out dramatic changes in revenues in the future to prevent the kind of funding whiplash public schools experienced 10 years ago. Say what you want about squirrels, they are intelligent and resilient creatures. Every fall, they start the process of burying nuts around our yards and forests. Something triggers their senses to tell them another cold winter is going to set in. In order to survive, they use the largesse of the moment to plan for the cold future ahead. Let's learn something from squirrels. Let's squirrel away resources now so our schools can count on stable and secure funding when the inevitable economic winter arrives. Thank you for your time and your dedication to public schools. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Kaczynski. Thank you for being here and your comments. And I see that Senator Woodson and Representative Sampson has questions, and we'll start with Senator Woodson.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Mr. Kaczynski, for being here. And speaking of squirrels, I'm watching some right now.
It's running away.
You bring up some great points about the situation we've been in the past, where we are now, and going forward, and the uncertainty of economic times. And we have taken up a lot of bills this year. Some good bills, and some, in my opinion, not so good bills. I would like you to bring to the work session, I mean, we have to have priorities. And we need to decide what bills are really essential and what is fluff. And that, I mean, if I can resolve that in my own mind, I feel a lot more comfortable voting for some of these bills that I may not fully support. But I mean, we have to have priorities. And I guess I'm interested in what you feel is some priorities here going forward, if that's possible for you to do.
Senator Woods, I would love to take this moment to opine on all the bills that have come before your committee so far this session and make recommendations of whether or not you should support each one. But I will say, I think this one is critical. You all decide what the cost of public education is. You all decide as a policy committee for the public education system in our state, the elements of the funding formula, and whether or not the cost of education increases, et cetera. That's largely driven by policy decisions that you may make to add cost to the cost of education. But what I would say is, I think this bill is critical because we've seen tremendous fiscal uncertainty over the past 10, 12 years. And we've seen school boards try to make up for the shortfalls in state funding again and again. We have a historic opportunity here with a significant increase in revenue and the largest amount ever in the rainy day fund in our state to squirrel away some money. Because we know, if you read the papers this morning and you're following the news of the day, the international scene is very unstable right now. That could certainly have an impact on our economy. And a lot of times, sir, as you know, these things are outside of our control. Whether or not what happens in Putin and Ukraine is going to have an impact on our economy, it could impact our state revenues. So here's an opportunity with the historic revenues that we're seeing in this state to put that money aside specifically to say we're going to try to do a better job in the future of giving schools fiscal certainty than we've done over the past 12 years, 13 years, where it was whiplash of funding. So we think this bill is a great opportunity to start making sure that the next legislature or the next legislature or the next legislature has the means and the opportunity to fund 55%. I'll remind you too, Senator Woodson, I mean, there was a ballot initiative in 2016 to try to solve this problem of funding 55% because we largely saw the problem as intractable and chronic. And so you have the opportunity by passing this bill, again, to store some of that money away so that when it comes, and we know it will come, the state's in a better position to maintain its commitment to public schools and help us weather any storm that comes. I hope that answers your question, sir.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll now move to Representative Sampson, who had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nice to see you, Mr. Kaczynski.
Guten Tag, Frau Sampson.
Guten Tag. So my question for you, along the lines of squirreling away nuts, is so, for example, I mean, this is just sort of embellishing on your point about lots of money, 411 plus million dollars just to schools through the ESSER grants. That's a lot of money these schools have right now. And so my question for you, I'm curious as to your comment or comments to this point. We need to know where the money's gone. What has it been spent on before we, I would think that this would be an integral part to what you're getting at. And, to know where every penny has gone so that we have a better idea of what is needed, what is not needed, what can be saved, how much should be saved, all of those things. So I'm curious as to your thoughts on an audit. Whether it's a statewide audit on just education or, because there's been a lot of money coming into the state. So I'm curious as to your thoughts on all that.
Thank you, Representative Sampson. I'm sure the next speaker, Ms. Wallach, can talk about the auditing process that schools go through regularly. I just want to caution, and I did mention the generosity of the federal government towards schools over the past couple of years. But as you know, Representative Sampson, that money starts to expire. It has to be spent. And I believe the final deadline might be 2023. I'd want to check that on the last round of ESSER funds. Those funds were really designed to get us through this pandemic, to make sure we had masks, to make sure we had enough bus drivers, to make sure we could do the spacing, to make sure we had the technology, to make sure that is the 55% school funding formula is not built for a pandemic. That is built for the general operating expenses of schools that you all determine through policy what it includes. It has student teacher ratios baked into it. It has a local contribution requirement. Those are all decisions that guide the overall cost of what it costs to do public schools. And what we're talking about today is, can we put some of the money aside that is currently here, that is currently in the state, to make sure that in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whenever the economy tumbles again, our state has the resources both for students, for educators, for school boards, and for property taxpayers, because they bear the brunt. Property taxpayers and students bear the brunt of the shortchanging that happened from 2008 through 2016. And you could put some of that money aside. So when that next decline comes, we're at the state all together, us in Maine, we're in a better position to at least maintain some continuity of funding for school districts.
Thank you. Can I have a quick follow-up?
Certainly.
Thanks. So along those lines, if you have the schools, so the point of my audit idea is if the schools have gotten more money than they actually need, what do they do with the extra money? Are they, where's the accountability for that? Is there some point that if there's a surplus of money, is there a mechanism for that to go into a savings account of some sort? How do we manage that? Because I'm sure there's going to be different schools having different requirements, and some may find they don't need as much money as they've been given. What are they doing with the excess?
Representative Sampson, I just want to clarify. I don't believe there's excess. I think under the current ESSER, ARPA, et cetera funds from the federal government, you have to decide, you have to articulate where every penny of that funding is going. That needs to be communicated and reported back to the Department of Education, who then forwards it to the U.S. Department of Education. So all of that funding from the federal government will be accounted for. And if schools don't spend it in the timelines that are given, they will need to reimburse those funds. So there are clear guidelines from the Department of the Treasury about the use of those funds and the timeline for expending those funds. If we had the resources, if we had schools overfunded at this point, I don't think we would have teacher shortages like we're seeing. I don't think it'd be so hard to find ed techs. I don't think we would see some of the challenges that we're seeing on the workforce side if schools were overfunded. I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of the federal money has been used and dedicated to get us through a pandemic and to help educators have the tools that they need to educate 175,000 students during a global pandemic. And if they don't, they have to report that money. That's all going to be reportable. We're all going to be able to see how those funds were spent. And I just don't support the notion that they're overfunded. I don't think we'd see the challenges that we're seeing in schools if that was the case.
Well, okay, I'm not implying that they're overfunded. I'm saying if in fact they receive more money than they need, what do they do with the excess? We have a significant drop in enrollment. That is already now, we know that to be fact. And who's managing that? I mean, really the ESSER funds are managed by the Department of Education, not the COVID relief were in the Treasury, but the ESSER are managed by the Department of Education. So I guess I'm just kind of curious. That's why you all the things you're saying, I totally agree. That's what's in, that's what they're supposed to be doing. But where's the accountability? Is there accountability? Can we verify and prove that in fact the money has been spent where it's supposed to be spent? And is there any extra? I'm just asking the question because there's a lot of money that's been coming in. And to your point, what are we going to do with the extra if there is?
I think Representative Stearns would probably be in a great position to answer that because he's seen this locally. But I mean, a lot of this is driven by our school board decisions and our local decisions. School boards can decide to squirrel away a bit of their own money in reserve funds that they then carry forward. Again, planning for economic winter and for helping to smooth out any deficiencies in state aid that may come. Another thing that school boards have done consistently now over the past few years since we've seen the state contribution tick up is they've actually reduced property tax payers for folks around the state. So we do that both through the mandatory mill rate expectation being decreased, but also the local school board determining that because of additional state aid, they don't have to raise property taxes or they can even lower them. We've seen all of that take place across the state. And a lot of that happens in your local school boards, at the local school board meetings, and through the local school budget process.
Thank you, Mr. Kaczynski. I think you've answered the question to the best of your ability at this point, and we may look to others at another time to expand on your comments. Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Kaczynski. Very nice to see you. And this question is not specifically for you, but perhaps for the work session. Is there someone who would help us as a committee to understand how there is an interrelationship with this bill and what we have at the state level for municipal revenue sharing projected as a plan in the next year or so? And I realize no one has a crystal ball, but that's part of the whole puzzle picture that I think we maybe need to also consider in some way, and someone more informed than I will understand that intersection of information, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from members of the committee for Mr. Kaczynski? Seeing none, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you at work session. And we'll now Representative Stearns before we go to Ms. Wallach.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question isn't for Mr. Kaczynski, but rather a request for information for the work session. And that would be, what are any opportunities or limitations on the rainy day fund, the so-called rainy day fund or stabilization fund for the state? And also, do any other departments under the administrative umbrella have their own rainy day fund, if you will? So if we could have that for the work session, that'd be helpful. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative Stearns. Representative Millett, I'd rather wait to.
Question for Mr. Kaczynski. Thank you.
A question for Ms. Kaczynski. Okay.
Yep, thank you. Mr. Kaczynski, is it your understanding that this fund would be reserved for the department or reserved for the general purpose aid.
I'm going to read from the bill, section 3, allocations from the fund must reduce loss of general purpose aid to a school administrative unit. So I think that is pretty clear, Representative Millette, that this would be, if we see reductions in the general purpose aid, that this fund could be used to offset any of those losses.
All right, thank you. We'll now turn to Victoria Wallach, who's speaking in favor of the bill.
Good afternoon, everyone. Senator Rafferty, Representative Brennan, and members of the Education and Cultural Affairs Committee. I am Victoria Wallach, Director of Communications and Government Relations at Maine School Management, testifying on behalf of the Maine School Boards Association and Maine School Superintendents Association in support of LD 1963. Our associations have long advocated for 55% funding of public education and support the intent of this bill. We also applaud the commitment made by Governor Mills in her State of the State to make good on that promise. She is proposing the creation of an educational stabilization fund capitalized with $30 million from the general fund. The key will be maintaining that commitment. When the cost of education goes up, and the infusion of federal funds we have seen during the pandemic diminishes. As you all know, what constitutes 55% changes based on the overall cost of education, and it goes up as we increase salaries and benefits. That's a big chunk of what affects the cost of education, or the folks that we employ. The 55% is also a statewide total. Not what individual districts, and I know you know this, but it's important to remember that so-called minimum receivers, for example, who can raise the required local share because of their high property values, receive much less aid, and those with lower values receive more. And it's a spectrum, and I know the Department of Education can do an overview for you on that because it's public information. And that's also affected by the number of students you have. So those are the two big factors, your property value and the number of kids you have affects your aid. There have been several studies around the efficacy of the distribution formula, but making changes to that formula inevitably creates winners and losers. So that's always a tough call. I also wanted to comment, we have two things, and Mr. Kaczynski mentioned them. We have carry forward accounts. You have approved carry forward accounts, and and school boards do in fact carry forward if they have, in a time like this, so that they can do over time reduce property taxes if, as happens, because salaries go up, what we need for running the schools goes up. And we have, it's in statute as well, annual audit requirements. It's 20A 6051 subsection 4. So you have a requirement for annual audits. And I think that's what I have. I'd be happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wallach. Thanks for being here. Are there any questions from committee members at this point? Seeing none, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you at the work session.
Thank you.
And Ms. Semino, at this point, we have exhausted the people who have, not exhausted them, but our list has come to an end.
It has.
All right, thank you very much. And I would ask at this point, does anybody have any not any questions, but any informational requests for Ms. Risler for the work session? I know Representative Stearns has, and Senator Woodson, Representative Sampson, and Ms. Risler will try to respond to those requests as best as possible. And we have scheduled a work session for next Thursday. I'm sorry, is it next Thursday on the bill or Wednesday?
It's currently scheduled for next Thursday.
Next Thursday, okay. All right, well, seeing none, I will officially close the public hearing on LD 1963. And that concludes our work of the committee for this morning. That's everything we have scheduled. Did anybody want to bring anything up before we left or leave? Seeing none, there will be a corner caucus of Democrats immediately following the end of this. And then we are in session tomorrow, and we're meeting on Thursday at 9:30. And at this point, Ms. Rizzle, you will send committee members a schedule. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as you know, we at the very end of Friday, we had some rescheduling with the CDS, which got pushed till next Wednesday. So I did reach out to the department as well as MEPRI. We're going to have some presentations on Thursday. I'll get that out to everyone by the end of today. We also have a couple tabled bills that I'm reaching out to sponsors or people who are maybe working in the background. And if we can add anything on Thursday, we'll do that as well. And then we'll also have a number of language reviews for you on Thursday as well. So please just keep.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, just please keep an eye out for that. And then I do have one comment on next week as well, whenever you're ready.
And you will send out later today the issues related to the 115 review that were raised by the community college and by DOE?
That's correct. Representative Brennan let me know late Friday that there were some concerns regarding LD 1933, which was the Chapter 115 certification. I have reached out to those with those concerns to provide them to me in writing so that I can forward them to you, and that could be discussed on Thursday as well. And I should again have that by the end of today for you.
Thank you. Representative Crockett.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. If one of my colleagues would kindly email me the link for the caucus, since I did not bring my trusty little cheat sheet that I usually have right beside me.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I hope everybody, Ms. Whistler.
Yep. So one last thing, I did find out while we were in public hearings today that the joint hearings with AFA on the supplemental budget are going to be next Tuesday, March 1st. That will be hearings starting at 9:30, hearings from the departments and agencies, and then at 1 o'clock scheduled to be opened for the public hearing testimony on the education and cultural affairs portions of that supplemental budget. I'm going to do my absolute best to put some binders together for you this afternoon that you can pick up when you're in session tomorrow. So whether they'll be either at your seats or in your legislative mailboxes, I'll try to make sure you have those. Obviously, I'm not going to have all the public hearing testimony to insert in them like I would normally do, but I'll at least have the pages that will come up and that you can certainly supplement and print anything as you need to fill
them. Any other questions, comments? Senator Rafferty, I have to go to HHS right now for a public hearing, take a couple minutes, and I'll be in the caucus shortly thereafter.
Thank you.
Okay. See everybody tomorrow and then again on Thursday. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you all.